the full-time magician, the Phoenix. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51. Duanzaiaoya's admirer. I said, "What are you doing at my house?" Duanzaiaoya said, looking at the handsome boy following behind her. "I'm just a follower." Unkinking said bluntly with her arms folded. She didn't like this boy. "Don't say that. We are all classmates," a soft and cute girl said nervously. "Her name is Zhao Mengmeng, and she is a very cute girl." Huh. Unkinking snorted coldly. "Well, I like you very much," the boy said with a smile. "Catcha." The door was it. Duanzaiaoya's face appeared. He just heard the boy's confession. Hiss. This bad girl actually has a sweeter? It's unscientific. Suddenly, Duanzaiaoya's mouth corner slightly raised. Mom. Bang. Duanzaiaoya pulled Duanzaiaoya out of the door and then pressed him heavily against the wall, saying viciously, "Duanzaiaoya, if you dare to say anything, you're dead. Don't quarrel." Duan Kingsang's casual words came from the door. "What? Do people like you, a tomboy?" Duanzaiaoya said with a puffing sound. "Zaiaoya is very charming. As her family, you should know her very well, right?" The handsome boy looked at Duanzaiaoya seriously and said that he didn't like anyone to say bad things about Duanzaiaoya, not even her family. "Oh no, I'm so scared," Duanzaiaoya said meanly while looking at the boy. He didn't know why he would become a rogue in front of Duanzaiaoya. Enough. Duanzaiaoya interrupted the atmosphere between the two and said, "Brother, hello, my name is Zhao Mengmeng." The soft and cute girl looked at Duanzaiaoya and said that she felt that Duanzaiaoya's family was very good looking, especially her brother, who was even more handsome than a big star. "Hello. Don't play with Duanzaiaoya, or you will become a tomboy," Duanzaiaoya said after breaking free from Duanzaiaoya's restraints. "Cribby," Duanzaiaoya said, hugging her arms. When she was a child, she often bullied Duanzaiaoya, such as beating him up if he didn't sleep with her at night, but that was when she was 3 years old. "Mom. Duanzaiaoya brought a man to our house," Duanzaiaoya said and quickly flashed into the house. "Huh. Wait for me to find the knife I bought. I didn't expect that there would be a day when I would use it." Duan Kingsang couldn't help but say, Hey, Dad, you don't think Zaiaoya will never get married in your life, do you?" Duanzaiaoya couldn't help but say, "Hey, how did you know, little bastard?" Duan Kingsang said in surprise. "What are you talking about?" Duanzaiaoya's mother said angrily. "Zaiaoya is obviously super beautiful, right?" Unkinking and Zhao Mengmeng looked at each other. "Ahem. Sorry." Duanzaiaoya looked at Duanzaiaoya and said, "Zaiaoya, I'm sorry, Dad shouldn't say that," Duan Kingsang said helplessly. "Huh." Duanzaiaoya hugged her mother and snorted angrily. "Hello, sister." Zhao Mengmeng looked at Duanzaiaoya's mother and said. Duanzaiaoya and Duan Kingsang looked at each other in an instant. "Mom should be 40 years old, right?" Duanzaiaoya said in a low voice. "Yes, she actually called me sister." Duan Kingsang couldn't help but said in a low voice. "Hey, Mom doesn't seem to like seeing the reality clearly." Duanzaiaoya couldn't help but said. "Yes." Duan Kingsang continued. "I heard it." At this time, Duanzaiaoya's mother looked back at the two people who were whispering and said. At this time, her devil-like figure made Duanzaiaoya and Duan Kingsang tremble and move their eyes away. "My name is Li Ziafeng. Hello, auntie and uncle, and hello, brother," the handsome boy spoke. "Auntie? I don't understand what you are saying." Duanzaiaoya's mother looked at the handsome boy and said. "Ahem. It's sister." Li Ziafeng changed his words instantly. "Dad is a weakling," Duanzaiaoya said in a low voice. "You can see the pattern at a glance, but he has no achievements," Duan Kingsang said in a low voice. "So cute." Zhao Mengmeng looked at Duanzaiaoya and Duan Kingsang and said in a low voice. Duanzaiaoya moved her eyes to Zhao Mengmeng. Suddenly Duanzaiaoya's phone rang. Duanzaiaoya took it out and saw that it was Mo Fan's number. "What's wrong with brother Fan?" Duanzaiaoya said as he walked towards the balcony. But at this time Duanzaiaoya blocked his way. Duanzaiaoya frowned and waved his hand to signal her to move aside. but Duanzai didn't move. Oh my god. Monkey. Monkey actually ran away alone. This bastard. Emo fan said angrily. Huh. Brother fan, aren't you the same? Duanzai couldn't help but say, Emo fan and Yizinksha have been a couple for a long time. Monkey. He actually went to the hotel. The signal is bad. Duanzai hung up the phone after saying that. Emo fan should have said that Zhang Xiaohao went to the hotel. It's not good for his family to hear such words. Are you answering the phone at home? Emo fan sent a message and asked. Yeah. Chat in the evening. Duanzai replied a message. Duanzai looked at the sun hanging high in the sky, wiped the sweat off his face, and walked towards the ice cream shop. You little brat. Don't you know that I'm the brother of that big bitch Emo fan? So disgusting. The girl wrote on the drawing board. You ate it anyway. Duanzai said with a smirk. The girl angrily stomped on the ground with her feet. Crack. Cracks appeared on the ground. Here's the ice cream. Duanzai returned the ice cream to the girl and said. The girl took the ice cream and ate it slowly. Higurashi Zero and the little monster are different. Higurashi Zero is a lively and cheerful girl in her heart, but she is bound by her powerful talent. Of course, her prototype is the little monster, but the personalities of the two are different. Chapter 52, Dusk Zero. Let's go play games. When passing by the game hall, the scarlet-haired girl grabbed Duanzai's hand, then put down the drawing board hanging around her neck, and wrote this line of words. In fact, the girl's handwriting is very good. Duanzai suddenly remembered that his handwriting was like a chicken foot fork, and couldn't bear to look at it. Why should I go to play with you? Duanzai was still brooding over the fact that the girl said he was a fool. If you don't want to go, forget it. After the girl finished writing, she looked at the people in the game hall with envy. She had never been there once, but this did not mean that her game skills were poor. On the contrary, her skills were very strong, because she mostly relied on games when she was alone. Looking at the girl's depressed expression, Duanzai did not feel happy. On the contrary, he felt the girl's loneliness. This guy should have no friends, right? If you invite me to play, I can consider it. Duanzai scratched his head and said, it would be better to agree at the beginning than to say this now. Now he will not be regarded as a gentle boy of the slow type, right? So embarrassing. The girl's eyes lit up, and she wanted to hold Duanzai's hand, but she felt that this was too abrupt, so she smiled lightly. After that, the two of them played in the game hall for a long time, playing gun battles, fighting, etc., and even the two of them often park, but the winner was the girl. The girl defeated everyone like an undefeated god of war, and won everyone's praise. I'm very happy. The girl wrote on the drawing board. Me too. Duanzai said happily. The girl handed a small rabbit pendant to Duanzai. Thank you. Duanzai smiled and said, the rabbit pendant was white, and looked very cute. The girl shook her head, and then wrote on the drawing board, can we be friends? Of course. I will be very proud to have a game master like you as a friend. Duanzai grinned and said, my name is Higurashi Zero. Please give me more advice. The girl wrote on the drawing board. I became good friends with a Japanese game master. Why does it feel like the development of a light novel? My name is Duanzai. Duanzai looked at the girl and said, what games do you like? Higurashi Zero wrote, 5 vs 5 game. Duanzai thought for a while and said, League of Legends? Higurashi Zero continued to write. She also liked this game. Yeah. Duanzai nodded and said, Miss, we should go back. Suddenly a man wearing sunglasses appeared in front of Higurashi Zero and said. After the man finished speaking, he looked at Duanzai and said, thank you. I didn't do anything worthy of your thanks, did I? Duanzai looked at the man and said, the girl in front of her turned out to be a young lady? A Japanese young lady is actually a game master? Goodbye. Higurashi Zero wrote on the drawing board. Goodbye. Duanzai nodded and said. After Duanzai separated from Higurashi Zero, he wandered around alone, and then unknowingly came to a small alley. Then he saw a white-haired figure changing pants. The white panties were clearly visible, and looked very erotic. By the way, why is there someone changing pants here? Is he an exhibitionist? The girl who was changing pants also found Duanzai. The girl was stunned for a moment and then slowly pulled up her pants. After putting on her pants, the girl looked at Duanzai and said, "Have you thought about how to die? You are the one changing your pants here, and you blame me?" Duanzai frowned and said, and the guilt for seeing the girl's white buttocks disappeared instantly. "Kill him," the girl said with a smile. Swoosh. A figure jumped out from Duanzai's shadow. She was just trying to drive someone away, but she didn't expect that someone would break in under this gap. A master of the shadow system? Duanzai judged it instantly. But he is also a master of the shadow system. Duanzai's figure merged into the shadow. The figure instantly rushed to the girl and said, "Miss, he is also a master of the shadow system." "Oh. He looks like a little brat, but I didn't expect him to be a mage," the girl said with a smile. "Hey. I don't want to fight with you, so goodbye." Duanzai grinned and said, "Where do you want to go?" Suddenly a cold voice said. Consciousness interrupted. In a luxurious villa, a teenager was tied up in the yard. There are many light magic arrays around the boy, which can suppress the shadow magician very well. A girl in a black dress walked up to the boy and slapped him without hesitation. "Pa." A crisp sound rang out. "Are you sick?" the boy said angrily. He was Duanzai. The person who suddenly appeared behind him should be a superclass magician, otherwise he would not be knocked out like this. "Wow. You have a very unruly mouth." The girl pinched Duanzai's mouth and said with a smile, "Idiot." Duanzai said softly, and two figures, one red and one blue, rushed out of his body. The speed was so fast that even a superclass magician could not react. "Ah, ah, ah." The fire elf shouted at the girl with an elemental sword. "Pa." The fire elf's small palm slapped the girl's face. The ice elf also held the sword formed by the ice element on the girl's neck. "Huh. Did you want to kill me just now?" Duanzai burst into flames and burned the rope. "But I don't want to kill you now." The girl grinned and looked at Duanzai. Having elemental creatures like fire elves and ice elves should be very useful in the future. "Don't want to kill me now?" Duanzai said with a smile. "Does this girl still think she can eat herself? Leave him alive." The girl looked at Duanzai and said. Suddenly 5 people appeared out of thin air, and 5 longsword magic tools were placed on his neck. What a joke. 5 superclass mages? Then 2 more people appeared beside the ice elves and fire elves and easily controlled them. "Are you surprised?" the girl said, looking at the surprise on Duanzai's face. "That's right. 7 superclass mages obey you. Who are you?" Duanzai couldn't help but say, "A businessman," the girl said as she walked forward and hit Duanzai's abdomen with her knee. Duanzai felt severe pain, even though he was a vampire. Hehe. Duanzai was angry. White wings stretched out from his back, and a pair of white wings stretched behind Duanzai. The wings were sacred and beautiful. Duanzai's black eyes instantly turned golden. A sacred and inviolable aura was released. The wings moved slightly. The 5 superclass mages around Duanzai were instantly seriously injured. "Do you still think you can win now?" Duanzai looked at the surprised girl and said. Chapter 53 Angel and Girl. "Are you an angel from the holy city?" the girl said, not panicking, but looking at the angel in front of her with interest. Duanzai did not deny, and looked at the girl and said, "Goodbye." Duanzai left with his fire elves and ice elves. The angel was very fast, and the girl only saw a flash of white light. "Angel. Go ask the old man of the Lin family, he should know something." The girl knew that the old man of the Lin family had beaten the angel of the holy city before. "Check what the old man of the Lin family is doing recently. I'll go and deliver something," the girl said. "Miss, we know." The superclass mages around got up and said they all volunteered to be loyal to the girl because they think the girl is the savior of this country. So even if the girl tells them to die, they will commit suicide without hesitation. "What are you doing?" Duanzai looked at Duanzai and said. "What do you care?" Duanzai looked at Duanzai and said. Duanzai glared at Duanzai and pushed the door open and walked in. Then she slammed the door back. Oh, I'm already in." Duanzai quickly flashed through the door and said with a smile. Duanzai clenched her fists and wanted to beat this guy. Bang. The door made a loud noise. "There are guests, you two, be careful." Duan Kingsang's voice reached the ears of Duan Xiaoi and Duan Xiaoya. Did you hear that? Be careful. Duan Xiaoi said gloatingly. Dad is talking about you. Duan Xiaoya emphasized the word you. In fact, you should know that Dad is just talking about you. I brought me because I was afraid you would be angry. Duan Xiaoi continued. Duan Xiaoi entered the living room with a happy mood. Then he saw a white-haired girl. Fuck. Duan Xiaoi blurted out instantly. What are you talking about, kid? Duan Kingsang glared and then slapped Duan Xiaoi on the head. The white-haired girl tilted her head and looked at Duan Xiaoi, then smiled as if she thought of something and said, "Is he your son, Uncle Duan?" "That's right," Duan Kingsang said with a smile. "Does this guy know Dad? Let's just pretend that we don't know each other. Hello. My name is Duan Xiaoi. Nice to meet you," Duan Xiaoi said while looking at the girl. "My name is Bing Fengxin, the girl you saw naked not long ago." The girl said something that made Duan Xiaoi's scalp numb. "Dad, call the police." Duan Xiaoi hugged Duan Xiaoi tightly and said to Duan Kingsang, "I didn't expect you to be like this." Duan Kingsang said earnestly, "What's the matter?" Lin Feng looked at Duan Xiaoi seriously and said, "Grandpa, she was changing pants in an alley. I just happened to pass by and saw it. I really didn't peek." Duan Xiaoi said hurriedly. Duan Xiaoya is also a girl. "Xiaoya, let me go." Duan Xiaoya looked back at Duan Xiaoya and said, "No, you are a pervert." Duan Xiaoya said seriously, "I explained it just now." Duan Xiaoya continued, "It was indeed me who changed pants in the alley, so you can't blame him." Bing Fengxin said. Only then did Duan Xiaoya slowly let go of Duan Xiaoi. "What are you doing here today?" Lin Feng said, looking at the girl in front of him. Although she looks like a girl, she has a very strong mind and talent. Her existence will cause the demons who covet the country to suffer heavy losses every day. This girl is more valuable than the forbidden spell mage. "Nothing. I just want to see you," Bing Fengxin said with a smile. "By the way, can I ask him to protect me?" Bing Fengxin looked at Lin Feng and said. Lin Feng frowned and said, "Do you think Xiaoi can protect you?" Bing Fengxin nodded and said, "Very safe. Have you inherited the power of an angel?" Lin Feng looked back at Duan Xiaoi and said, "After all, he gave him the angel spirit seed yesterday, so he could only think that Duan Xiaoi had inherited the angel's legacy, and the power of an angel could indeed protect the girl in front of him. No. But I can now gather the magic energy of the light system and briefly possess the power of an angel. It can only last for about 1 minute, and aren't there many superclass mages around her? Who can hurt her?" Duan Xiaoi pouted and said he didn't want to protect the young lady in front of him. Xiaoi's existence protects many borders from attacks by demons, so we must protect her well. Lin Feng looked at Duan Xiaoi and said, "Huh? Just her? A domineering young lady?" Duan Xiaoi couldn't help but say, "That's right. Because of her existence, the borders are much safer, but because of this, she is regarded as a thorn in the eyes of the Black Church and some strange organizations, so she is in danger almost every moment, so protect her well." Lin Feng looked at Duan Xiaoi and said seriously, "I know, but I can't protect her for too long." Duan Xiaoi agreed. "Just protect me through this holiday," Bing Fengxin said. In the end, Duan Xiaoi and Bing Fengxin left. "Where to go?" Duan Xiaoi said, looking at the girl beside him. "I have something to do today," Bing Fengxin said expressionlessly. "Then can I go home? I think there should be many masters in your family, so you don't need me, right?" Duan Xiaoi said happily. He didn't like this girl very much. "Whatever you want." Duan Xiaoi was in a better mood. But the girl continued, "If something like a sprained foot happens, and we don't have time to go to the hospital to deal with some things, resulting in unnecessary casualties, there is nothing we can do." Duan Xiaoi continued to follow the girl silently. He really couldn't understand why this girl was said to be so important by his grandfather. Suddenly a car stopped in front of the two of them. "Get in the car," Bing Fengxin said. Then someone quickly opened the door to let Bing Fengxin and Duan Xiaoi get in. Bing Fengxin squinted her eyes to rest as soon as she got in the car. Duan Xiaoi looked at the girl's cheek and found that the girl had slight dark circles under her eyes. Duan Xiaoi also began to meditate, but gradually the girl's body leaned towards Duan Xiaoi's shoulder. Then she leaned on it gently. Duan Zioi, who was meditating, also noticed this, but after opening his eyes, he saw the girl leaning on his shoulder. According to the girl's temperament, she would probably get angry when she woke up. Then Duan Zioi planned to stop the girl from sleeping on his shoulder. Dad. Suddenly the girl said in her sleep. Hey. Duan Zioi responded subconsciously, but whenever someone mentioned this word in school, he and Mo Fan would respond without hesitation. The man driving the car glanced at Duan Zioi silently, his eyes looking at a dead person. Chapter 54 Description. I have to prepare for school today and tomorrow, so I will only update once today and there may be no update tomorrow. Sorry. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Bing Fengxin. Duan Zioi quietly looked at Bing Fengxin, who was still sleeping, breathed a sigh of relief, and then continued to practice meditation. The man driving the car stared at Duan Zioi silently for a while, before he stopped looking at Duan Zioi. Do you think it's better to practice meditation with me? Bing Fengxin looked at Duan Zioi and said. Duan Zioi had his eyes closed at this time. I don't think so, I just want to become stronger. Duan Zioi opened his eyes and looked at Bing Fengxin and said, this girl is actually very beautiful and has a good figure, but it's too hard to resist. It's a good thing to think so. Bing Fengxin looked at Duan Zioi and said, Miss is here. The man driving the car said, you get off. Bing Fengxin looked at Duan Zioi and said, oh. Duan Zioi nodded and got out of the car. Help me. Looking at Duan Zioi looking around, Bing Fengxin couldn't help but say, how can you have no eyesight at all? Is your foot injured? Duan Zioi said after a moment of stunned. Come over here. Bing Fengxin said with a cold face. TSK. Duan Zioi walked with a stern face and stretched out his hand. Bing Fengxin looked at Duan Zioi, then stretched out her hand and put it on Duan Zioi's hand. Although Duan Zioi looked quite thin, his hand was able to completely hold Bing Fengxin's small hand. Your hand is so small. Duan Zioi couldn't help but say, it was smooth, as if it had no bones. Pa. Bing Fengxin stepped on Duan Zioi's foot and said, who allowed you to hold my hand? Bing Fengxin's expression was very bad now. What a psycho. It was you who put your hand on my palm, right? But he quickly remembered what Mo Fan said, girls hate cheap people. Ahem. Cheap Zioi appears. Because I want to be stepped on by you. Duan Zioi said with a wicked smile. The man driving. Oh. Is that so? Bing Fengxin smiled and said, lie down. It feels a little different. Why? Duan Zioi would naturally not listen to the girl's words easily. I remember there is still work to do. If I don't feel like dealing with it, you can't blame me. Bing Fengxin said casually. She was talking about the report on the coastal demon group. Choose. Bing Fengxin said with her arms folded. No one had ever treated her like this. Oh. Duan Zioi lay on the ground silently, then covered his face with his hands and said, come on. As long as his face is not seen, the person lying on the ground is a person whose face cannot be seen clearly, so no one will know who he is. Are you still afraid of being shy? Bing Fengxin said as she looked at Duan Zioi, whose ears were a little red. Of course. Everyone will be shy, right? Bing Fengxin frowned and said, do you mean I'm not a human being? I'm not. Duan Zioi said depressedly. Bing Fengxin stepped on Duan Zioi's chest and said, you are. Someone actually dared to call her a non-human. Forget it. Bing Fengxin stepped on Duan Zioi and walked aside and said, get up. Duan Zioi patted his clothes and stood up to look aside. Look at me. Bing Fengxin looked at Duan Zioi and said. Duan Zioi looked at Bing Fengxin obediently. He disliked this girl even more. If his grandfather hadn't kept telling him that this girl was important, he would have left long ago. Bing Fengxin could naturally see Duan Zioi's dissatisfaction, but she didn't say anything. Hello, Miss Bing. A young man in a kimono came over and said, and the girl with scarlet hair beside him looked at Duan Zioi with surprise. Hello. Bing Fengxin said coldly. Hello, Mr. Duan. My sister is taken care of by you. The young man looked at Duan Zioi and continued. Not at all. I didn't expect to meet so soon. Duan Zioi said to the young man, and then looked at Higurashi Zero. Meeting Higurashi Zero made his bad mood much better. Are you happy? I'm very happy. Higurashi Zero wrote quickly on the drawing board and then drew a smiling expression. Very happy. Looking forward to playing with you. Duan Zioi said happily. Seeing the gentle expression on Duan Zioi's face, Bing Fengxin said coldly, if you say one more word, I will rest for one more day. Is this guy mentally ill? After thinking about it, Duan Zioi smiled awkwardly at Higurashi Zero. Seeing Duan Zioi being so obedient to Bing Fengxin, she felt a little strange. She felt a little depressed. Then it was time for the young man to talk to Bing Fengxin. Duan Zioi quietly took out his mobile phone and sent a message to Higurashi Ling. They had exchanged phone numbers before. Higurashi Ling was stunned for a moment. She remembered that she only had Duan Zioi and her brother's numbers. Was it him? Sorry. Let's chat. It was Duan Zioi's message. It felt strange to chat on the phone at such a distance, but it felt very happy. Let's go to the game hall together when we have time. Higurashi Ling sent the message and then looked at Duan Zioi quietly. Yeah. I look forward to playing with you. Duan Zioi quickly replied to the message. Higurashi Ling. But I didn't expect you to be here. What a coincidence. Duan Zioi. Hey. I'm crying when I talk too much. Is it about the girl in front of him? Higurashi. Life is neither black nor white, but a delicate gray. Duan Zioi raised the corners of his mouth slightly. This is a line from League of Legends. I have been to the top of the mountain and I have also fallen to the bottom. Both have benefited me a lot. Higurashi. Face the wind. Duan Zioi. Torii pioneer. Higurashi. Your face is like frost on snow. Duan Zioi. A kiss is like frost on snow. Duan Zioi. How do I know you? Higurashi. Thousands of silent tears. Duan Zioi. The sword does not fit in the sheath. Higurashi. The heart is merciless. Duan Zioi. Demon. You mistake chaos for freedom. Higurashi. Angel. You mistake light for truth. Duan Zioi. I feel like I'll be dead if people know. Duan Zioi and Higurashi actually held their mobile phones and recited the lines of Yasuo and Ribbon. It was so interesting. Higurashi Zero. Ha ha ha. Are you from the nursery? Duan Zioi. Wow. I'm super strong. Yasuo. Your Yasuo is strong? Bing Fengxin said with a cold face. Oh my god. Duan Zioi was startled and then hurriedly said, are you a screen peeking monster? Let's go. Bing Fengxin said and walked over first. Goodbye. Duan Zioi said to Higurashi Zero and then chased after Bing Fengxin. Higurashi Zero waved to Duan Zioi. Zero, do you like him very much? The young man said to his sister. He is the only one of my friends. Higurashi Zero wrote on the drawing board. Is that so? Then you have to work harder. After all, he is the descendant of Mr. Lin. The young man touched the girl's head and said. Everyone, I'm on my way to school. Chapter 56. Sudden attack. Prepare clothes for him and take him to take a bath. Bing Fengxin, who had just stepped into the door, said to the maid who came forward. Please follow me. The maid took Duan Zioi to the first floor. Take him to the second floor. Bing Fengxin reminded. The maid was stunned for a moment and then looked at the boy in front of her carefully. Perfect. Judging from his appearance, the boy's appearance is even better than that of the lady. But the lady has never been a person who judges people by appearance, and the second floor is the lady's personal area. No one is allowed to go up without her permission. Please follow me, the maid said respectfully. Maid. So beautiful. Duan Zioi muttered softly. You wait for him. Bing Fengxin pointed to a young man and said. Yes, miss. The young man walked up to Duan Zioi and said, Sir, follow me. Huh. Duan Zioi was stunned for a moment and didn't understand why Bing Fengxin suddenly changed people, but he couldn't understand the thoughts of rich people. Bing Fengxin watched Duan Zioi leave and said to the maid beside her, make a report about his experience and give it to me. Yes, miss. The maid said respectfully. Hello. Fengxin. Suddenly a young man pushed open the door and walked in with a warm face. What's the matter? Bing Fengxin said coldly. She didn't like the young man in front of her, and she probably didn't like most people in this world. I'm here to invite you to be my dance partner for a while. The young man smiled and said, then kept a distance from Bing Fengxin. He knew that this girl didn't like anyone getting close to her. I already have one. Bing Fengxin looked at the young man and said, I knew I would be rejected. The young man was stunned for a moment and then said, do you have a dance partner? Bing Fengxin didn't say that she didn't want to dance, but that she had a dance partner. Was she kidding? This information should drive the sweeters crazy. Are you deaf? Bing Fengxin said bluntly. The young man had long been accustomed to the girl's words, so he generously didn't argue with Bing Fengxin. Hehe. I was just scared. The young man said helplessly. You know, he spent a lot of money to be able to talk to the girl like this. It seems that there is no hope at all. Your family is really rich. Duan Zioi said with a sour face. Bing Fengxin ignored Duan Zioi. Hello. My name is Lin Zioi. At this time, the young man spoke to Duan Zioi. Hello. Are you her boyfriend? Duan Zioi said in surprise. He thought Bing Fengxin didn't have a boyfriend. Lin Zioi smiled. Why do you think he is my boyfriend? At this time, Bing Fengxin spoke. Because it looks like a good match. Duan Zioi said, while looking at Bing Fengxin. Hearing this, Lin Zioi's heart was simply blossoming with joy. Lie down. Bing Fengxin said, while looking at Duan Zioi. What are you talking about suddenly? I'm not your slave. Duan Zioi said dissatisfiedly. He didn't want to lose face in front of the maid sister again, otherwise he would lose the right to choose a spouse. Okay. Don't regret it. Bring it. Bing Fengxin said, while looking at Duan Zioi. Then a maid handed Bing Fengxin a document. Are you sure you don't want to lie down? Bing Fengxin said with a smirk. She smiled. This eye switch smiled. Lin Zioi on the side felt that he was getting goosebumps. Of course. I'm protecting your safety, not your slave. I'm self-righteous. Duan Zioi said, but he has been very patient. Ah. I'm the Terminator of the Dark King's world. How do you know? Duan Zioi's fair face turned red in an instant. This is his biggest secret. He thought that even Mo Fan and the others didn't know it. Puff. A cute girl laughed. Ah. I'm too embarrassed to see anyone. Duan Zioi said, while crawling on the ground in frustration. His biggest secret is a second disease, and it is so hidden that even Mo Fan and the others don't know it. Just when Bing Fengxin was about to speak, a group of people suddenly appeared. There were a lot of people and they were all wearing black robes. Do you want to die? Bing Fengxin's expression instantly turned cold, but since they dared to break in here today, does it mean that these people are confident enough to kill themselves? Miss Bing, we invite you to join the evil god cult. A black-robed man looked at Bing Fengxin and said, they came here today to take Bing Fengxin away. Of course, if they couldn't take her away, they would kill her. The old man of the Lin family is here. Do you have the confidence to decide? Bing Fengxin looked at the people in front of her and said, he will be dealt with by our god. So what's your answer? The black-robed man looked at Bing Fengxin and said, my answer is that the running dog should lie on the ground. Bing Fengxin said without hesitation. Hehe. The black-robed man sneered. A black spear stabbed at Bing Fengxin. Miss, you go first. A man walked out of the shadows and said, a white shield blocked the black spear. Don't die. Bing Fengxin turned around and left without any reluctance because she knew very well that she was just a beginner mage. I will. The man said, looking at Duan Zioi. Please protect the young lady. Well, I know. Duan Zioi also turned around and left because his light magic power had not been fully restored and he could not enter the angel form. Go kill them. The black-robed man said to a shadow beside him. If he had enough manpower, he would personally deal with Bing Fengxin. The shadow disappeared instantly. Be careful. As soon as Lin Zioi finished speaking, the shadow rushed out from Duan Zioi's shadow and a black dagger slashed at Bing Fengxin's neck. Light blessing holy scales. The 7th level magic of the light system intermediate magic. A wall of small shields formed a wall, as if it were a wall made of scales. Crack. The black dagger chopped on the wall without hesitation. Puff. The black dagger melted instantly like ice encountering flames. Lin Zioi raised a sword magic tool and chopped at the shadow. The shadow dodged easily and kicked Lin Zioi in the chest. Duan Zioi could clearly hear the sound of bones breaking. This shadow man is very strong. Escape shadow transfer. The 7th level magic of the shadow system. Duanzai teleported all ordinary people who had no fighting power, including Lindsay Ui. Oh. I found an interesting person. A girl with black hair and red eyes said to Duanzai while carrying a huge sword. The girl looked beautiful, but had a wild feeling. Saint lady, please kill him. A man in black robe said loudly. I took some time to code it out. Chapter 57, Rage. The black-haired red-eyed girl carried a huge sword and smiled broadly at Duanzai. The girl had never met such a young man before, and she seemed to be able to feel the warm sunshine. It seemed that being friends with him was like being with him forever. Killing him and carrying his body with you would be forever, right? The black-haired red-eyed girl suddenly looked at Duanzai with sparkling eyes. The girl rushed up in one step. Crack. The ground under the girl's feet made a sound of being overwhelmed, and then a large area cracked. Ha ha ha. The girl laughed and rushed to Duanzai with a huge sword. On the contrary, Duanzai was startled, not because of the girl's laughter, but because of the girl's speed. She was carrying a sword that looked very heavy, but she didn't expect the speed to be so terrifying. Bang! The girl's huge sword collided with Duanzai's 7th level intermediate light magic. Duanzai's Guangayao sacred scale was chopped into pieces after supporting it for 1 second. This definitely can withstand ordinary high level magic. This seemingly small girl can actually have such power, which is really surprising. I got you. The black-haired red-eyed girl looked at Duanzai and said with a smile. The shattered light shield emitted a yellowish light, which made the girl feel that Duanzai was even warmer. The girl's hand reached out to Duanzai. A whole black shadow squirmed on Duanzai's arm, and a dark shadow sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Duanzai, holding the sword, stabbed the black-haired red-eyed girl in front of him without hesitation. The black-haired red-eyed girl easily slapped Duanzai's shadow sword away with her hand. Not only that, the girl also raised her foot and kicked Duanzai's chest heavily. Crack. A crisp bone-breaking sound rang out. Duanzai's body flew out like a cannonball. I should kill you now. The black-haired red-eyed girl looked at Bing Fengxin and said, then slowly raised the giant sword. Her initial goal was to kill this woman. You can't kill me. Bing Fengxin tilted her head and said without any panic. The black-haired red-eyed girl made a puzzled sound, but the giant sword in her hand did not hesitate at all. Fierce fist. Duanzai rushed out from Bing Fengxin's shadow, punching the black-haired red-eyed girl with colorful and golden flames. The black-haired red-eyed girl raised the giant sword to block Duanzai's attack. Boom. A huge sound roared, and although the black-haired red-eyed girl blocked the attack, she was still knocked away by Duanzai. Aren't his bones broken? How come he recovered so quickly? He is a very interesting person, and he must be obtained. Cut with a knife on Monday and burn with fire on Tuesday. Thinking of such a scene, the girl smiled. Suddenly, a black shadow raised a black blade and stabbed Bing Fengxin's neck. Duanzai's 49 stars were arranged into 7 star tracks and then formed a star map. A light shield appeared behind Bing Fengxin. The black figure retreated quickly because she knew that she could not break this shield, so she left it to the saint lady. Let's get out of here. Duanzai picked up Bing Fengxin and quickly merged into the shadows. Are you okay? Duanzai looked at Bing Fengxin and said, I'm used to it. Bing Fengxin said casually. She had experienced such assassinations many times. This guy doesn't look like he's having a good time. Duanzai began to sympathize with the girl. It's pitiful that she often faces death, even though she is young. Bing Fengxin punched Duanzai in the chest and said, I don't need your sympathy. But she couldn't tolerate people's sympathy for her, which would make her feel like a weak person. I don't. Duanzai said, turning his head to the side. Now he was quickly shuttling through the top of the city with the girl. Suddenly a white light flashed. Duanzai looked up and saw a human figure and a giant ant that was 100 meters high. The giant beast stepped on the ground with one foot, but an invisible thing blocked its big foot. The human figure raised his hand slightly. In an instant, dense and pale lightning appeared in the sky. The pale lightning whipped the giant beast like a punishment from heaven. Roar. The beast roared, but the sound did not reach the city, as if the human figure and the beast were fighting in different worlds. Duanzai then saw that every attack of the figure made the beast roar and rage crazily, but it was powerless. It also had to admit that it could not defeat the person in front of it who was wearing human skin, but was a monster inside. "You are careless," a delicate voice said. Puff. A black dagger pierced Duanzai's back. Duanzai quickly used the shadow to appear on the top of a tall building. He was attracted by the terrifying battle, but he didn't expect that the black shadow man pierced his chest. "It is one of our evil gods, but I didn't expect that someone could resist it and suppress it," the black shadow man murmured. She once thought that the evil god was invincible, but this time made her realize that the evil god might just be a powerful demon. "Then can I become a god too? Is it your evil god? So disgusting." Duanzai put down Bing Fengxin and looked at the black shadow man and said, "And now his chest has been completely restored." "I think so too, but you're still going to die. I don't know why you want to protect this woman. She's killed so many people." The black shadow pointed at Bing Fengxin and said she knew Bing Fengxin had killed so many people. "Yes, I have killed so many people. If you want to kill me, you can." Bing Fengxin looked at Duanzai and said, "Why don't you explain?" Duanzai said after a pause. "No need," Bing Fengxin said with her arms folded. "Whatever you want. Anyway, Grandpa believes in you, so I will believe in you too." Duanzai said seriously. "I said, do you want to become an evil god?" The black shadow looked at Duanzai and said, then slowly put down his hat. The blonde girl with blue pupils smiled at Duanzai. "No." Duanzai refused without thinking. "That's a pity," the blonde girl said regretfully, but she didn't plan to do it again, because she knew that even if she did, it would be ineffective. "Found I ow." A pleasant voice came, and the black-haired red-eyed girl walked slowly towards Duanzai carrying a giant sword. "I'll leave the same to you," the blonde girl said, and merged into the shadow. She was going to make plans to become the evil god. "Sorry, I had something to do yesterday." Chapter 58 Walnut Dream. "Hello, my name is Hu Taomeng." The beautiful girl with black hair and red eyes looked at Duanzai politely and said. The girl at this time looked like an ancient lady, but this seemingly polite lady was carrying a huge sword and was ready to attack Duanzai and Bing Fengxin at any time. "I'm not interested in knowing you." Duanzai was wary of this girl named Hu Taomeng. This Hu Taomeng was very strong. "Hehe. The moment you told me your name, we knew each other," Hu Taomeng said with a sweet smile. At the same time, "Little girl, you are dead." A black-robed man chased the scarlet-haired girl. The scarlet-haired girl was Higurashi Zero. She ran quickly, and there were innocent people around, so she had to find a place where no one was. Thunder Seal Rage Strike. The black-robed man raised his hand and released the primary thunder magic just to scare the panicked girl in front of him. The huge lightning hit the ground not far from Higurashi Zero's feet. Higurashi Zero frowned and continued to run forward. "Oh. Pretty calm." The black-robed man grinned and said he thought the girl would panic. The black-robed man was as leisurely as a cat catching a mouse. He was just a junior mage before, a mage with no future, and he was afraid of death. But what could he do? Everyone would be afraid, right? Afraid of demons, right? And why should he protect ordinary people? Why can they live safely in the city, but he has to fight against demons? The black-robed man met a woman in the battle with demons again. The woman was called the Messenger of God. The woman told him that he could get unparalleled power as long as he killed ordinary people in his community. He believed the woman. Then the woman rescued him and sent him back to his community. Then he knocked on the doors of his neighbors one by one, killing one family after another. He didn't feel afraid, but felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. That's it. Obviously, he has more powerful power than them, so why should he protect them? If he kills these people, will he not have to protect them? Ha ha ha. That night the man killed people in a neighborhood like a madman. Then he was given the power of a superclass mage. Then, if he killed ordinary people all over the world, would he become a god? Thinking of this, the man laughed happily. Ha 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 ha. The black-robed man laughed unscrupulously. "Catcher." Higurashi Zero pushed the door open and rushed in. The black-robed man followed him in. The black-robed man looked at the scarlet-haired girl like a shivering deer, and his heart became hot. It seemed that he had never come into contact with such a beautiful girl. Would you join us? Then I will protect you. The black-robed man looked at the scarlet-haired beautiful girl and said, if he could let this girl join them, he could not only enjoy this girl, but also get a reward. Best of both worlds. The girl hid in the shadows and didn't speak. Join us. I will protect you. The black-robed man said kindly. Higurashi Zero spoke. What about me? The black-robed man continued to ask, and gave the girl again. Has she figured it out? I hate you. This time Higurashi Zero spoke quickly. Higurashi Zero's voice was very pleasant. The black-robed man tilted his head, and felt that his body was out of control. Countless sound blades instantly shredded the man's body. The man didn't know what happened until he died. Higurashi Zero breathed a sigh of relief. Join us. Higurashi Zero. A woman suddenly appeared in front of Higurashi Zero. You guys? Higurashi Zero said in confusion. The powerful sound blade took the initiative to chop at the woman. However, a layer of black mist appeared on the woman's body to block the sound blade. Yes, join us. This way you can control your power and don't have to worry about hurting your family. The woman continued. If Higurashi Zero joined them, then this girl would become an existence that would make the world tremble. Higurashi Zero was unmoved. Which boy do you like? Don't you want to talk to him? Don't you want to say gentle love words to him like a normal couple? The woman continued. Because Duanzai had killed another member of the evil god cult, she also paid attention to Duanzai. She wanted to make Duanzai the next pope. Because I'm special, so I'm special in his heart. If I talk to him normally, will he still think I'm special? The answer is of course not. Higurashi Zero said loudly. Instantly, countless sound blades slashed at the woman. This time, the black fog did not completely block the sound blades. But the woman left one step ahead. Higurashi Zero has the power to cut through the black fog, which means that she can be killed. So she left. She does not intend to die before killing people in this world. She wants to take revenge on the human beings of the world. Zero? Are you okay? Higurashi Zero's brother walked to Higurashi Zero and said. Higurashi Zero saw many corpses of black robes behind her brother. It's okay. Higurashi Zero wrote on his drawing board. That's good. The young man touched Higurashi Zero's hair and said gently. He only cared about this sister. If anyone dared to touch his sister, then waits to die. Where is brother Zai? Higurashi Zero wrote on the drawing board. Zai. The young man said puzzledly. That's him. Higurashi Zero said with a red face. The Duanzai. When did you call him by his name so affectionately? The young man said depressedly. We are friends. Higurashi Ling covered his face with a drawing board with this written on it. In a corner. What do you want to do? Duanzai, a blonde, said to the black-robed man who suddenly appeared. You are Duanzai's sister, right? The black-robed man looked at Duanzai and said. Well, what's wrong? Duanzai tilted her head and said. Because your brother is going to become our son of God. So we have to protect you. The black-robed man said seriously. Son of God. Are you a cult? I don't think my brother will be with you. Duanzai said seriously. So we need you to control him. The black-robed man said with a grin. Didn't Duanzai tell you that he has never beaten me? Duanzai grinned and looked at the black-robed man and said. Huh, a little junior magician. The black-robed man snorted coldly and walked towards Duanzai. Okay, I've decided to deal with your evil god. Duanzai tilted her head and said she didn't like anyone trying to take advantage of her brother. Chapter 59 Duanzai. Seeing the arrogant look of the blonde girl in front of him, the black-robed man became unhappy. How dare a little star and a junior magician be so arrogant? Do you know that in this world, actors are only used to entertain others? In this world, power is supreme. Go to hell. The black-robed man said in a low voice, and then walked towards Duanzai step by step. He would not kill Duanzai. After all, he still needed her to control the boy. But it's okay to break one or two hands. Crack. Suddenly the black-robed man rushed towards Duanzai and the ground shattered instantly. Sword of light. Duanzai exhaled lightly. A golden lightsaber appeared in her hand. The black-robed man's face moved slightly. Is this girl in front of him a light mage? Or has she broken through to the intermediate magician? Duan Xiaoya's appearance of holding the sword is very elegant, like an elegant swordsman. Duan Xiaoya swung the lightsaber at the black-robed man who attacked. Instantly, the golden light burst out, as if to purify all the filth in the world. The black-robed man only felt the dazzling light, and then his consciousness and body disappeared in the light. Really? Why are all people targeting you? Are you Tang Seng? Duan Xiaoya complained, and then 3 pairs of golden wings stretched out from her back. She had obtained the power of angels a long time ago, and she was using the power of angels to help the people of this world from the invasion of demons. However, there are many beings in this world that are stronger than angels, such as the dominant emperor in the Sahara Desert. Even angels have to fight in groups, and even if they form a group, they may be wiped out. In that case, the human beings in this world are really in danger, so they will not move those beings without absolute certainty. A golden mask appeared on Duan Xiaoya's cheek, and the 3 pairs of golden wings looked particularly beautiful. Duan Xiaoya once said that Duan Xiaoya was a demon, but Duan Xiaoya wanted to tell him she is an angel in this world. Swoosh! Duan Xiaoya rushed into the clouds in an instant. Angel of the holy city? The figure in the sky said with an unhappy expression. Yeah. Duan Xiaoya nodded and said the person in front of her is her grandfather. Although it's just in name, she likes to play with her grandfather very much, and if he knows that the granddaughters who attacked are all angels, then he will definitely feel useless. HMPH. We don't need you here, and if you dare to preach here, don't blame me for overturning your holy city, Lin Feng said viciously. The propaganda of the holy city is generally to collect the power of faith, but this country has guardians, so the power of faith in this country should also be this. If the holy city dares to promote, he doesn't mind promoting the totems in the holy city. I just want to solve this trouble. Duan Xiaoya said a little aggrievedly. She is not an angel of the holy city. But there is no use in explaining. After all, the power of angels basically comes from the holy city. Get out of the way. Birdman with wings. Lin Feng raised his hand and slapped the giant beast. Thunder turned into a giant hand and slapped the giant beast away. Roar. The giant beast roared. It is an evil god from other planes. How can you accept such an insult? The beast stabilized its body and opened its mouth to spit out a black torrent. The power of death and annihilation can kill countless people in an instant. HMPH. Let me show you the power inherited from the Lin family for generations. Lin Feng snorted coldly. A golden figure appeared behind Lin Feng. The huge golden figure in the flames was very similar to the phoenix, but there were 2 pupils in the pupils. It was a double-headed bird. Looking at Lin Feng in this posture, the beast instantly realized that the human in front of him was not someone he could defeat. What should he do? The beast became irritable and then saw a black-haired boy on the roof of the ground. Although he was different from the old human man, he understood that the boy was the family of the old human man. Humph. Let's exchange 1 for 1. Anyway, if you die here, you can still be reborn in your own plane. At this time, the black torrent spit out by the beast was broken by Lin Feng's punch. Yes, it was instantly blown up by the golden flame fist. Lord of Darkness. I sacrifice my body in this world. Please take that human boy into the endless dark abyss. The beast spoke in a strange language. Lin Feng frowned. He felt something was wrong. Except, a cold but terrifying voice said. Suddenly, the body of the giant beast shrank. However, the giant beast still made a happy sound. The old man should be in great pain. The body of the giant beast turned into black smoke and disappeared. Lin Feng was puzzled. Suddenly, a black space door appeared beside Duan Xiaoya. The black space door exuded an unparalleled dark power. Lin Feng saw a huge arm stretched out from it and grabbed Duan Xiaoya. Lin Feng instantly appeared beside Duan Xiaoya and punched the huge arm. Grandpa? Duan Xiaoya said breathlessly. He didn't dare to move just now. He seemed to have never felt such a terrifying power. Hehe. I have collected the body of the evil god, so please hand over this human boy to me. A woman in a black dress came out from behind the dark crack. There is more than one king of darkness, but she should be considered the one in front. Don't even think about it, Lin Feng said with his eyes wide open. Ha ha ha. That's not up to you, the woman said with a smile. Then a dark figure rushed out from the crack of the dark space. Bang. but Lin Feng's fist was instantly imprinted on the black shadow's cheek. The black shadow shot out instantly. However, Lin Feng could feel that the black shadow that was just beaten was not injured. "Leave this woman to me." Duan Xiaoya appeared beside Lin Feng and said. Although he couldn't beat the woman in front of him, he could still stop her. "Yeah." Lin Feng nodded. The black shadow was stronger than the giant beast just now. "Angel. I have one too," the woman said with a smile. And then a fallen angel with 2 pairs of black wings came out, staring at Duan Xiaoya. He hated angels the most. The fallen angel rushed to Duan Xiaoya in an instant and appeared in the sky with Duan Xiaoya. "Fuck. Who else can save you now?" the woman said with a smile. The woman stretched out her hand to Duan Xiaoya. The powerful force at this moment made Duan Xiaoya completely unable to move. Suddenly a space door opened. A slender and beautiful ice blue wolf came out. Chapter 60. Ah la la. This is going to be difficult. The woman's parents looked at the Ice Queen and Duan Xiaoya with their chins down. She could feel the breath emanating from the ice wolf in front of her. She knew very well that the ice wolf in front of her was very strong, but she had received benefits. Be honest. The woman suddenly appeared behind Duan Xiaoya silently. "I hope you can survive." After the woman said this, Duan Xiaoya's figure suddenly disappeared in the darkness. Roar. The ice and snow spear of the Ice Queen also pierced the woman's body. This is really troublesome. The woman turned into black mist and disappeared, but the Ice Queen also plunged into the dark plane. The shadows and fallen angels who fought with Lin Feng and Duan Xiaoya opened their own dark passages and returned to the dark plane. Under a dark sky, a black-haired girl trembled as she looked at the boy falling from the sky. She actually hoped that the boy had fallen to death. Then she could make the boy into a skeleton soldier. But things went against one's will. Although the boy was seriously injured, he recovered quickly, so he should be a vampire or a werewolf. TSK. What a pity. Who are you? Duan Xiaoya said with his eyes open. Are you from another plane? The girl was surprised. You know, creatures from other planes may not speak the language of this plane. It seems that this guy can be sold to other people. Thinking of this, the girl immediately put on a cute smile and put a tattered coat on Duan Xiaoya's body. Hearing the girl's surprised words, Duan Xiaoya also understood that he couldn't understand the girl's words, but he should be a good person to give him the coat. The girl actually motioned Duan Xiaoya to go with her. Duan Xiaoya thought about it and followed the girl. When passing by a square, Duan Xiaoya was stunned because he saw a huge werewolf pressing a blonde woman in a corner and moving crazily. Is this a werewolf? It's clearly a teddy in heat. Brother, do you want to join us? The blonde woman squinted and looked at Duan Xiaoya and said. But Duan Xiaoya didn't understand what the woman said at all and walked forward quickly with a smirk. Damn garbage. The girl said viciously. She hated werewolves and vampires because she felt that these creatures were creatures that were in heat anytime and anywhere and would do it on the spot as long as they wanted. Although Duan Xiaoya didn't understand what the girl said, he knew that the girl's words were not good by looking at her ugly face. Suddenly Duan Xiaoya stopped because he felt a shadow force attracting him. Then Duan Xiaoya saw a huge statue of a 12-winged fallen angel standing on the huge square. That was once the strongest dark angel, but it was a pity that he was killed by dark creatures, angels, and people from the Holy Church. Anyway, you won't understand it if I tell you. The girl looked at Duan Xiaoya and said, there is the power she wants. Duan Xiaoya walked towards the 12-winged dark angel step by step. The feeling of powerlessness in the face of the evil god is still deeply imprinted in his mind, so he must become stronger as soon as possible. Duan Xiaoya walked in front of the dark angel. The environment changed instantly. In a bright space, a black-haired man gently hugged a blonde woman. The aura they exuded surprised him, because the black-haired man exuded a strong dark power, and the blonde woman exuded a light power. Dark angel and angel. But why are they together? Hello. People from another world. The black-haired man looked back at Duan Xiaoya and said with a smile, hello. Duan Xiaoya understood what the black-haired man said. You have the power of vampires, phoenixes, double-headed birds, and even angels. You are really a magical existence. The black-haired man said with a smile. You are already very strong. Why do you still need power? I think you will be the pinnacle of the world if you grow up. The black-haired man looked at Duanzai and said that only people who need power will come to this place. Not enough. Not enough. Not enough. I'm still too weak. So I want to become stronger. Can you give me strong power? Duanzai said to the man in front of him. Then I will help you strengthen the dark power a little bit. The black-haired man said with a smile. As soon as the man finished speaking, the dark mist enveloped Duanzai's body and then poured into Duanzai's body. Duanzai felt a huge dark power entering his body. Suddenly he felt a swelling on his back, and then a tearing sensation came from his back. 3 pairs of black wings grew out. Congratulations on becoming a dark fallen angel. The black-haired man said with a smile. I don't feel that my magic power has become stronger. Duanzai couldn't help but say. Because the dark power in you is limited, and the dark power in you can still support you to open the form of a fallen angel for 1 minute. This is the best choice for you. After all, you are not from this world. The black-haired man said with a smile. Although he is a dark angel, he still prefers the creatures of his own world. The angel breath on you is very familiar. So I will give this to you. Please protect the people you want to protect. The blonde woman handed Duanzai a sword wrapped in a gorgeous scabbard of gold and white. Duanzai pulled out the gorgeous sword. The sword inside was very beautiful and the sword body was densely engraved. By the way, there is a very powerful weapon in your body, and it seems to be sleeping. The blonde woman continued, but when she saw Duanzai's confused look, she said helplessly, okay, you will know later, goodbye. Duanzai's figure suddenly disappeared. Do you know him? The black-haired man tilted his head and said curiously. He has the breath of a little naughty and the blood of a little naughty. He should be the descendant of a little naughty. It's amazing. I didn't expect that she would choose humans. The blonde woman said with a smile. Little naughty? Is it the angel who likes to play pranks? The black-haired man was stunned for a moment and said he remembered the angel girl. Yeah. Why are your clothes torn? The girl frowned and said as she looked at Duanzai. Duanzai tilted his head, and he still didn't know what the girl was talking about. But Duanzai saw the mark of a sword on the back of his hand. It was the sword given by the woman. Forget it. I'm going to sell you soon anyway. The girl smiled. The young vampire or werewolf in front of her should be very valuable. After all, some creatures just like the werewolf's strong desire. Chapter 61 War. Disgusting. Are the despicable dark creatures ready to be purified? A huge projection stood in the vast sky and earth dozens of kilometers away, looking at the trembling dark creatures. Hypocritical holy church. Come on. A huge bone dragon flapped its huge wings and said fiercely. It used to be a giant dragon, but now it has become a bone dragon. It is because of the holy church that it has become like this, so it wants revenge. This guy is a monarch level bone dragon. Duanzai quickly identified it. Run. At this time, the girl pulled Duanzai and ran away. She was born in the Dark Continent, so once she was captured, there would be only one way to die. So she immediately took Duanzai and ran away. Can you please stop this war? Suddenly the voice of the black-haired man said. Duanzai was silent, because this was obviously beyond his expectations and ability. Although many creatures on the Dark Continent are unforgivable, there are also lives that have just been born. They are innocent. The man continued. Then why don't you come out to save them? Duanzai asked back. The man's power should be able to easily stop this battle. In fact, I died a long time ago. Now I'm just a remnant soul with a little power. I can't even defeat a monarch level bone dragon now. If I show up, the battle angels will come soon. So please. Of course, do it within your ability. The black-haired man continued. I know. Duanzai said seriously. Who are you talking to? The girl couldn't help but say. She just heard Duanzai talking. Is this guy crazy? The dark creatures take the cubs away from here. I will block them for you for a while. A corpse demon stepped on the head of the bone dragon and said loudly. Roar. The tall werewolf roared angrily at the Holy Legion. Even they wanted to protect their children. The vampires also looked at the Holy Legion with vicious expressions. How dare the fallen dare to be arrogant? A blonde woman floated in the air and looked at the corpse demon and the bone dragon and said. She has a perfect figure and a beautiful face. She is an angel. Hehe. I will let you see how powerful the dragon is. The bone dragon said very meanly. Bah. Damn garbage. The angel said viciously. Begin the war. The angel raised the sword in his hand and swung it. Kill these hypocrites. The woman is yours. The bone dragon continued to roar and rushed out first. The blonde angel also rushed out. Duanzai also started running. What are you doing? That's a battlefield. The black-haired girl said loudly. A pair of light wings stretched out from behind Duanzai. Boom. Duanzai's body instantly shot into the sky. The golden sacred light and breath made both sides of the battle look at him. Damn angel. The corpse demon began to curse, and this angel that suddenly appeared was obviously more powerful. Are you an angel? The blonde angel couldn't help but say she had never seen this angel. Retreat. Otherwise I will kill you. Duanzai looked at the blonde angel and said, what are you talking about? The blonde angel said in disbelief. Although she didn't know the language Duanzai spoke, she still understood it. But Duanzai didn't have time to explain, so he grabbed the blonde angel and threw him towards the Holy Legion. Bang! The blonde angel smashed the Legion's shield in an instant. You damned fellow, the blonde angel said angrily. But at this time, Duanzai's white wings began to shrink. Soon, they gradually disappeared. Bang! 3 pairs of black wings spread out in an instant, and Duanzai's blonde hair instantly turned black and his eyes turned into scarlet pupils. Escape shadow transfer. The 7th level magic of elementary magic. In an instant, the feet of the Holy Legion were shrouded in darkness. People used the power of light to drive away the darkness in a panic, but found that it was completely useless, and they seemed to feel that there was some kind of sacred power in the darkness. After a while, all the Holy Legions disappeared. Fallen angel, how could you? The corpse demon said tremblingly. But Duanzai ignored the corpse demon and disappeared quickly. What are you looking at, big fool? A cute girl said dissatisfiedly. Hehe. Duanzai grinned at this cute girl, because the girl was the only literate person in this town and he needed her. Remember, I will only teach you for 1 hour. The girl said dissatisfiedly. She was a big star in the Holy Religion Academy. Once she got home, she had to spend an hour teaching a fool. This made her very unhappy. Hehe. Duanzai still smiled. In this way, the girl taught Duanzai for a holiday. Say you like me. The girl looked at Duanzai and said angrily, and her blue eyes turned red. Hello. Duanzai stammered, and then smiled at the girl again. Arsehole. The girl kicked Duanzai and ran away. Why is he so stupid? Duanzai looked at the girl leaving with a complicated expression. He understood everything about your girl's feet, so he also knew what the girl wanted him to say just now, but he didn't like this girl, so he pretended to be stupid. His roots are not here. The next day, the girl left angrily without even saying hello. Then a few days later, someone came to recruit students for the Holy Religion Academy. Duanzai thought about it and ran to sign up, because it doesn't cost money and it can also help people awaken. Duanzai has already broken through to become a high-level magician during his time on this continent. So this time, Duanzai awakened the earth element, water element, and plant element. However, Duanzai hid the plant element and the earth element, leaving only the water element. Water element? Very good. A gentle elder sister looked at Duanzai and said, is the water element very powerful? Duanzai tilted his head and said, in their world, the fire element and the thunder element are obviously more popular. Of course. Take a look. The gentle elder sister took out a magic wand and casually waved the water flow to form a sharp sword that easily cut off a tree. Very powerful. Duanzai tilted his head and said, this is an advanced application of magic. After all, just like when he uses angel power, he can also use it in an advanced way, but once he does not use angel power, he cannot accurately control these powers. Of course, you can learn a lot after entering the academy. The gentle elder sister continued. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Holy Religious Academy. The Holy Religion College is the largest and best educated college on the continent. Almost every graduate can become a strongman, so the Holy Religion College is very prestigious. And the Holy Religion College is divided into the Green Campus and the main campus. The Green Campus is where the students who have just entered the college live. Of course, you can also enter the main campus through examinations. Duan Xiaoi, the gentle elder sister and some other freshmen spent a week to come to the Holy Religion College. The gate of the Holy Religion College is very large and is made of milky white stone. It looks very beautiful and luxurious, and a rich atmosphere blows in the face. Duan Xiaoi feels that he may not be able to afford a brick. If he has no money, he can just pick up 2 bricks to sell. Oh, brother, do you want to pick up 2 bricks to sell? A tall and thin boy said to Duan Xiaoi in a low voice. Duan Xiaoi's eyes just now were the same as when he first came. What are you talking about? Duan Xiaoi looked at the boy and said, that kind of idea is enough for you to know it yourself. Still not admitting it? But forget it. Hello, my name is Luok. Today I'm here to meet Miss Sheng Luoli, the big star of the Holy Religion Academy. Luok said with sparkling eyes. He was very excited. The long golden hair and gem-like eyes were charming and extremely attractive. Sheng Luoli was the most beautiful girl in the Holy Religion Academy. Sheng Luoli. Could it be the girl who taught him characters before? That girl was indeed very beautiful, but had a bad temper. Miss Sheng Luoli. Suddenly someone shouted. Sure. Suddenly everyone looked at one place. Oh my god. Duan Xiaoi couldn't help but say that the radiant girl was the girl who taught him characters before. Huh. What's there to be proud of? She's just a vase. A red-haired girl hugged her arms and said sourly. She didn't like the delicate-looking Sheng Luoli. Duan Xiaoi turned around and looked at the red-haired girl. What's wrong? Are you also her supporter? The red-haired girl hugged her arms and looked at Duan Xiaoi and said. The young man in front of him looked full of exotic style. The red-haired girl's face slowly turned red. This guy is so handsome. Hello, my name is Jack. Duan Xiaoi smiled lightly and looked at the red-haired girl and said. Hello, my name is Celia. The red-haired girl said with a slightly red face. Do you hate Saint Luoli? Duan Xiaoi looked at Celia and said. It's not that I hate her, I just don't like her, but she looks weak, which makes people feel very uncomfortable. Celia thought for a while and said to Celia. Is that so? Duan Xiaoi thought for a while and then said to Celia. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Goodbye. Goodbye. Celia murmured. Suddenly Celia felt a line of sight. Celia looked up and saw that Saint Luoli was looking at her. Humph. Although Celia didn't know what was going on, she still glared back fiercely. The Holy Religion College is very rich, so basically everyone has a dormitory. But the place where Duan Xiaoi came was a double room. It's hard to imagine why I will live with a man in the future. A purple-haired girl did not hide her dissatisfaction at all. No way. After all, the academy has accepted a little too many people this year. A senior girl frowned and said, no one likes the arrogant young lady. Well, forget it. My name is Hysteria. The purple-haired girl said arrogantly. Jack. Duan Xiaoi said casually. He didn't like this arrogant girl because he felt it would be troublesome. It's a very ordinary name. Hysteria said what she thought. I wish you a happy time together. The senior girl left after saying that. She still had a lot of things to do, so she wouldn't take care of them all the time. Help me carry the luggage in. Hysteria looked at Duan Xiaoi naturally and said, as if she was instructing her servants. Do your own things. Duan Xiaoi walked into the room quickly. How can you refuse me? Hysteria said in surprise. No one has refused her request yet. Duan Xiaoi was also surprised to hear the words of Miss Hysteria. How big a star is this guy? Anyway, he is not a servant of Hysteria, and her parents sent her here to train him. The room is big, and it feels like 4 or 5 people can live here. Duan Xiaoi's room is on the left, and Hysteria's room is on the right. Duan Xiaoi pushed open the door of his room and walked in. There was a big bed, a desk, and many books inside. Everything looked luxurious. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside the door. Duan Xiaoi opened the door and saw that Hysteria was rubbing her butt. There was a suitcase next to her. She probably fell down when moving the suitcase. Hysteria was a little depressed. She thought Duanzai would help her, but she didn't expect Duanzai to just look at her curiously. Hate it. Alice Hysteria was a little embarrassed. She didn't want to lose face, but the suitcase was too heavy. She had to use all her strength to pull it. Unconsciously, she thought of her guard. It turned out that he was very powerful. Alice Hysteria thought so. Patting her butt, Alice Hysteria stood up and began to drag the suitcase with great effort. She had no intention of asking Duanzai for help. I'll help you, but you have to treat me to a meal in return. Duanzai looked at Alice Hysteria and said he had no money now. It's very heavy. Alice Hysteria said with some excitement. I'm strong. Duanzai looked at Alice Hysteria and said, this girl seems to be quite cute. Then come on. Alice Hysteria smiled and said, if Duanzai can't lift it, then she can help Duanzai. Duanzai picked up the suitcase with one hand and looked at Alice Hysteria and said, look, I'm very powerful. Alice Hysteria took a step back and said, we are friends, right? Yes, we are friends. Duanzai looked at Alice Hysteria and said, he was planning to borrow money from this girl, and the identity of a friend should be able to borrow money better. Then let's go together. Alice Hysteria said, holding a corner of the suitcase. Because we are friends, it should be normal to help friends, right? Alice Hysteria looked at Duanzai and said, strictly speaking, friends don't get along like this, which means that this girl's first friend is me? She is unexpectedly pitiful. Exclamation mark. Chapter 63 Alice Hysteria. The beautiful girl, Alice Hysteria, was sitting in the living room somewhat helplessly. She didn't know where to eat and how to eat so that people wouldn't think she was a young lady. At this moment, she thought of home. At home, she always didn't need to ask her servants to prepare everything she wanted. If she didn't come here, she would be very happy, right? The love of her parents, brothers, and sisters is always beautiful. I really want to go back. But is it weak to go back like this? No, I must persist. Catcher. At this time, a handsome black-haired boy came out. The boy's face was perfect, as if it was the most beautiful work of art in the world. What's more, the boy was a Far Easterner at first glance, and his exotic appearance made people even more crazy. The black-haired boy touched his hair and looked at the girl and said, do you want to eat together? The boy spoke casually, probably because he thought the girl would not agree, so he was so casual. But at this moment, the girl seemed to have found a glimmer of hope. Let's go together, the girl said a little awkwardly. After all, she knew that the boy was just being polite, but she agreed. He should be very uncomfortable when eating later, right? But she had no choice. Let's go. The boy nodded and said, Chris Hysteria, can you concentrate on eating? Duanzai said to the purple-haired girl in front of him. From the beginning, this girl has been scolding a large group of people, both men and women. How can you be elegant when eating? You are pretending, right? Such words came from the mouths of others. Originally, they would not say that, but just now, Christ Hysteria scolded others and made her very upset, so she said it blatantly. Humph. Troublemaker. Christ Hysteria scolded back without hesitation. Seeing this, Duanzai was also helpless. In short, a meal took about an hour to finish. After that, it was the day of class. Duanzai was in class 1 and Christ Hysteria was in class 2. After living with Christ Hysteria for a few days, he still found that the girl was isolated. He felt that this was his own business and needed to be solved by himself, so he didn't care. Until a month later. Mr. Jack, do you know what I want to talk to you about? A gentlewoman said to the boy in front of her. The boy is very popular now and is a celebrity, so he can probably help his poor roommate. I don't know. Duanzai said immediately. Help Alice Hysteria make friends. She is the little princess of the Holy Kingdom, so I can't watch her cry alone in the corner every day, so please. Mr. Jack. The woman looked at Duanzai and said. But Alice Hysteria doesn't seem to need friends. Duanzai said, after thinking about it. He didn't expect his roommate to be a princess. She needs it, but she can't let go of her face, so please. And there is a scholarship. Of course I will pay for it. The woman continued. Duanzai agreed. After all, he has been troubled by money for a long time, so he would not refuse such a good thing. Celia, let's have dinner together. Duanzai said to the red-haired girl in front of him. Me. The red-haired girl was surprised for a moment and then hurriedly said, since it's your invitation, there's nothing I can do. After all, we are classmates, and it's my responsibility to take care of lonely classmates. The red-haired girl is a proud but kind girl. After understanding Hellas Hysteria's situation, she will definitely help her. Hey, you're still dragging your feet when you ask me out for dinner. Aren't you too arrogant? Hellas Hysteria had already come to the door of his classroom and said. Duanzai looked at the time silently. It's only been half a minute since the get out of class ended. Arrogant girl, are you too lonely? Have you made an appointment? Celia's expression became dissatisfied. She thought it was time for the two of them to be alone. She wanted to leave. She has no friends. Duanzai whispered in Celia's ear. No friends? Such a beautiful girl has no friends? Celia couldn't help thinking, such a beautiful girl should have many friends, right? Hello. My name is Celia. The red-haired girl said to the purple-haired girl in front of her. I don't want to be friends with ordinary people. The purple-haired girl said without hesitation. Duanzai said, her name is Hellas Hysteria. Really? How can you do this? Hellas Hysteria looked at Duanzai and said dissatisfiedly. She felt that she should endure loneliness and become stronger, so she didn't want to make friends. Duanzai knew that the girl actually wanted friends, but this guy didn't know how to make friends at all. I don't want to be friends with her either. As a veteran Sundeer princess, Celia would naturally not be bullied obediently. Hellas Hysteria instantly looked at Celia like a ferocious wolf. Oops, it's messed up. Duanzai felt that the two might fight in the next moment. That's what I want to say. You civilian. Hellas Hysteria looked at Celia and said. Are you kidding? This lady has a lot of friends. Celia said loudly and pointed out that she had many friends intentionally or unintentionally. Is it great to have many friends? I have them too. And why do you talk about friends? Hellas Hysteria said angrily. Ah la la. Poor kid. Don't you have no friends? Celia turned into a proud little devil and said with a smile. However, Duanzai agreed with Celia's words. Hellas Hysteria was a little pitiful. Although you don't need too many friends, it's a bit wrong to have only him as an open friend. He is my friend. And we are roommates. Hellas Hysteria said loudly. Duanzai was stunned for a moment. Although this sentence was not wrong, it would be misunderstood if it was said loudly like this, right? What? You only have one friend? There are so many. Celia said with a smile. I probably have friends from 3 classes. There are so many people that I can't remember. The trouble of having too many friends. Celia's critical hit directly made Hellas Hysteria's eyes red. Screwed up. Duanzai couldn't help thinking. I hate weak girls the most. Can't I become stronger? So I endure loneliness alone. Hellas Hysteria said with a crying voice. Christia's self-destruction made Duanzai a little nervous. Chapter 64 Magical Tools. Why do you say that the magic tools made by dwarves are strong? Because they know superb magic engraving skills. So what is magic engraving? Magic engraving is something like a very delicate magic circle, but it is much smaller, a blonde young man said passionately in the spacious classroom. Duanzai was sleeping, while Celia and Hellas Hysteria next to Duanzai were listening to the class seriously. They both had excellent academic performance, so they would study seriously in class, and not long after they met last time, the two became good friends who could talk about anything. Celia thought about it and gently pinched Duanzai's nose with her hand. Duanzai frowned and said in a daze, I'm sleepy. Pinching the nose was what Tang Yu would do to Duanzai before. But suddenly he realized that this was a different world. Celia's eyes opened instantly with a thoughtful expression. What are you doing? Duanzai said, slapping Celia's hand that had not been retracted. Zio. This person must have a good relationship with Jack, and may even be his girlfriend. Celia thought instantly. Class. Celia pointed at the teacher and said, oh. Duanzai flipped through the book and looked at it casually. Magic armor. He also wanted a set, but it was too expensive to buy. Okay, get out of class is over. The young teacher suddenly said. As the teacher's voice fell, the atmosphere began to liven up. Duanzai was thinking about whether he could get a set of magic tools. Saint Laurie is coming towards us, Celia said, looking at the blonde beauty. She is Saint Laurie, not so. The purple-haired beauty, Cristelia said with her chest puffed out. Saint Laurie? Duanzai got under the table as soon as he heard her name. It was very embarrassing to meet Saint Laurie. He still remembered that the girl asked him to say that he liked her when she left. So the girl thought Duanzai didn't know the meaning of this sentence, but he knew it very well. What's wrong with you? Celia looked at Duanzai and said, suddenly getting under the table. Could this guy want to peek at Saint Laurie's underwear? Celia's face changed, and he began to pull Duanzai. What are you doing? Duanzai said in a daze. He didn't understand why Celia wanted to pull him. You are committing a crime. Celia couldn't help but said, with a persuasive tone. What are you talking about? A crime? Duanzai was still in a daze. It's a crime to peek at underwear. Celia said loudly. I don't have any. Duanzai couldn't help but said loudly. At this time, Saint Laurie walked in front of Celia and Hellas Hysteria. Is there something wrong? Hellas Hysteria said. Are they going to fight? A teenager said in a low voice. I didn't expect the three beauties in the academy to know each other. They are all so beautiful. Come out, idiot. Saint Laurie said to Duanzai, who was curled up under the table. Idiot. You call people idiots as soon as you come? You must have no friends, right? Hellas Hysteria said to Saint Laurie. Friends? I have a lot. Saint Laurie said to Hellas Hysteria. Cristelia looked at Saint Laurie in surprise. Why did she only have 2 friends? Idiot. I told you to come out. Saint Laurie said while looking at Duanzai's table. Hello. Do we know each other? Duanzai, who couldn't escape, came out and said with a smile. Why did you lie to me? Saint Laurie looked at Duanzai and said. Duanzai was completely like a fool before, but she observed Duanzai these days and found that he was not a fool at all. In other words, he lied to her before, and she felt ashamed when she thought of the words she asked Duanzai to say before she left. That guy actually lied to the angel. Hiss. I think I should go buy a knife. Damn bastard. Aren't two enough? Absolutely can't let him get his hands on the angel. Duanzai gradually felt that the atmosphere was getting sinister. I lost my memory a few days ago. Do we know each other? Duanzai tilted his head and said. Hiss. Is this guy a scumbag? A girl said in surprise. Is that so? Saint Laurie tilted his head and thought for a while, then looked at Duanzai and said, my name is Saint Laurie. I taught a fool before. Hello. My name is Jack. Duanzai said casually. Hello, idiot. Saint Laurie said calmly. My name is Jack. Duanzai said helplessly. Okay, Mr. Liar. Saint Laurie still said so. This guy's doing it on purpose. Duanzai rubbed his brows. It seems that he will not be calm in the future. Saint Laurie looked at the boy in front of him with a bitter smile and thought for a while and said, you liked me before. And we are a couple in love. What are you kidding? Duanzai couldn't help saying. Yes. Where is the evidence? Celia interrupted. That's it. Jack has lost his memory, so I said we are already married. Hellas Hysteria looked at Saint Laurie and said. Here you go. Saint Laurie took out a photo on which Saint Laurie was combing Duanzai's hair with a gentle face. Hellas Hysteria fell silent. She felt very uncomfortable. How is it possible? Celia couldn't help but say, Saint Laurie and Duanzai are actually lovers? Let's go. Saint Laurie held Duanzai's hand and walked out of the classroom. Duanzai didn't say anything. He felt that he should talk to Saint Laurie. I'm hungry, so let's go eat. Saint Laurie looked at Duanzai and said, although he said it to Duanzai, he didn't intend to ask for his opinion. Sorry, I hid my identity for some reasons before. Duanzai began to explain. I won't ask, and you have lost your memory, so now your identity is my boyfriend. Saint Laurie looked at Duanzai and said with a smile. Because Saint Laurie was too dazzling, they were almost always watched. Are you angry? Duanzai said, after thinking about it. When she was with the girl, she would do something irrational when she was angry. No, I won't be angry with my boyfriend. Saint Luoli said with a smile. She wanted to let everyone in the school know that Saint Luoli was Jack's girlfriend. Duan Zioi still understood what the girl was thinking, but it didn't seem to be any good for him, right? Sorry, I actually have someone I like. Duan Zioi was going to make things clear with Sheng Luoli. That's your business. Sheng Luoli let go of Duan Zioi's hand and turned around and said, I am, but I have to make all the girls stay away from you. Chapter 65, Departure. About a week later, Duan Zioi applied for a leave of absence from the academy, saying that he wanted to go to the dwarves to build his own armor. The academy quickly agreed to this request. In this week, Celia, Alice Histria and Saint Laurie became good friends. It's really unpredictable. Duan Zioi left alone, and he didn't tell the three girls where he was going. Liar, run away. A blonde elf said to an elf who looked much younger than a girl. Now they encountered a dragon. Asshole. But the girl elf pulled up her longbow and shot the elf arrow into the dragon's body. The dragon roared. The elf's bow and arrow were very powerful, and even the dragon felt severe pain. Run. The slightly older elf instantly pulled up the girl elf and ran, because he knew that the dragon was angry. Such a dragon was not something they could deal with. The dragon opened its mouth and spit out a black breath. The two elves quickly avoided the attack. Although they avoided the attack, they were still overturned by the aftermath of the dragon's breath. Damn it, the slightly older elf said, and looked at the elf girl beside him. At this time, the elf girl had fainted among the rocks. Damn it, the slightly older elf said, and quickly rushed to the elf girl, picked her up, and began to flee from the dragon. But how could the dragon let these two elves go? The dragon roared, and pounced on the two elves. Is it going to die? The slightly older elf couldn't help but think. Although he had already realized it, he still didn't want to die. The slightly older elf ran out even harder. Colored flame sky wrath red flame fiery fist 9 palaces. The slightly older elf heard an unknown language. Then the ground began to crack, and the 9 directions showed the 9 palaces. Boom. The terrifying and hot power of the fire element burst out. The slightly older elf saw that the rocks on the ground turned into magma in an instant. The terrifying power that was like a natural disaster hit the dragon. Roar. The dragon was knocked away in a mess. So it was knocked away, but its strong magic immunity made it almost unharmed, but it just felt very embarrassed. The slightly older elf quickly jumped out of the magma circle. The slightly older elf saw a black-haired boy walking out from the side. The slightly older elf could feel the fire elemental power overflowing from the boy's body. Run away quickly. The black-haired boy looked at the elf and said. The elf shook his head and looked at the black-haired boy and said, there is a human village not far away. If we run away, it will definitely go there to vent its anger. The black-haired boy paused and then said, it's a dragon. Are you sure you can defeat it? No. The slightly older elf said without hesitation. The black-haired boy was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect the slightly older elf to speak like this. Then get out of the way. I'll deal with it. The black-haired boy tilted his head and said seriously. The dragon in front of him was at the monarch level. Now he was a high-level wizard and should be able to fight. The fire elf rushed out of the black-haired boy's chest and flew around the black-haired boy with excitement. Like a dancing flower fairy. Is this an elemental elf? The slightly older elf couldn't help but say. The elemental elves are strange creatures bred by the world. Powerful and beautiful are their synonyms. Well, the black-haired boy said casually, and then looked at the fire elf and said, are you ready? The fire elf clenched his fist and waved his fist at the dragon and shouted cutely, then come on. The black-haired boy said loudly. The fire elf crashed into the chest of the black-haired boy. 3 pairs of flame wings stretched out from the back of the black-haired boy. This is a special fusion of the elemental elf and the host. Roar. The dragon also shook its huge head and flew into the sky again. But the flame had turned into a meteor and hit its chest. The dragon roared in pain, so it had a very high magic immunity, but it still felt the severe pain and the feeling of being burned by the flames. The huge pain made it even more angry. The dragon tried to stabilize itself in the air, but a flaming sword cut through its scales and cut a huge wound on one of its wings. The dragon's wings could no longer support it to fly. The dragon fell to the ground, and you can see that the dragon's wound is recovering. A protracted battle is not what the black-haired boy wants. A gorgeous long sword appeared in the black-haired boy's hand. Swoosh! The black-haired boy turned into a meteor and rushed towards the dragon. The dragon sensed the danger and wanted to escape, but the boy was faster. The gorgeous longsword made a huge slash and cut off the dragon's head. The dragon fell to the ground, and its head also fell and rolled on the ground. Dragon. The perfect material for making armor magic tools, but he couldn't take such a big dragon away. If you don't mind, I can help you make a set of armor. The slightly older elf looked at the boy and said, generally coming here to find people who make armor for the dwarves. Of course there are exceptions. Is it possible? But I don't have any money. The black-haired boy turned around and said in surprise. He was just thinking about how to ask the dwarf to help him make armor. Unexpectedly, the elf in front of him could also make armor. Although there is not much description of the elves, he knows that the elves' magic tool skills are only slightly worse than those of the dwarves. So if it is free, he is very happy to give the materials of the magic dragon to the elves to deal with, and she should work harder to help him after saving her just now. Free. The slightly older elf said with a gentle smile. Thank you so much. The black-haired boy said with a happy expression. In this way, the slightly older elf put the unconscious girl elf on the ground and began to deal with the magic dragon. The boy wanted to help, but the slightly older elf said he was clumsy. So the boy sat aside and watched the elf deal with the magic dragon. Blonde and fair skin full of vitality is the feeling that the elf gave the boy. The boy feels that the elves are very beautiful. And are their breasts a little too well developed? It seems that every time the slightly older elf moves, the fruitful fruit also moves. Pervert. A pleasant voice suddenly said. The boy looked at the girl elf beside him. The girl elf had woken up at this time, and she saw that this human had been looking at her sister. Damn bastard. Chapter 66 Elf Girl Lee. The slightly older female elf heard the voice of the girl elf and immediately said, Lydia, are you okay? She was scared when she saw the girl elf fainted just now. I'm fine. But who is this guy? He feels disgusting. The girl elf walked to the slightly older elf and said. But at this time, she also found that the magic dragon just now was solved. Did you solve it? The girl elf said in surprise. She didn't expect Wee to be able to defeat the magic dragon, but soon she felt something was wrong. If Wee could defeat the magic dragon, then she wouldn't have to be so embarrassed before. Could it be that the human killed the magic dragon? The girl realized that it could only be that human who solved the magic dragon. It was Mr. Jack who defeated the magic dragon. In return, I use the magic dragon to make armor for Mr. Jack, and Mr. Jack is a good person. Don't say that to him. The older elf said while busying himself. It can be seen that the older elf named Wee has very skilled skills, which makes Du and Zioi feel a little relieved. Such skilled skills should be able to create good magic tools. However, Lee on the side did not speak, but sat quietly on the rock and looked into the distance. Although she looked very young, she was also 100 years old. But what about the boy in front of her? Probably not even 20 years old. At this age, only the elf Prince Nord had such a terrifying record of defeating the monarch level dragon. And the current Prince Nord is 100 years old. He should be a powerful elf comparable to the supreme monarch level creature. In short, Prince Nord is stronger. And humans are short-lived. Hey, human, our prince is very strong. Stronger than you. Lee looked back at the black-haired boy and said. Although the appearance of humans is worse than that of elves, why does this boy's appearance feel more advanced than that of elves? Oh. Du and Zioi said casually. In fact, he didn't want to answer, but when he thought that it was the elves who helped him to make magic tools, he answered the girl's words reluctantly. In fact, he didn't care who was stronger than him. He only cared about whether his own power could protect the people around him. HMPH. Lee stopped talking. The human girl didn't want to talk, and she didn't want to talk to humans either, because humans were selfish and greedy in the eyes of the elves. In the past, humans had sold elves as slaves, so she would never like humans. Du and Zioi could feel that the elf girl didn't like him, so he thought, what if the elf girl interfered and caused the quality of his magic tools to decline? Although it was a little inappropriate to think this way, people's hearts are separated from their stomachs. If it's troublesome, just give me the materials. Duanzai said. Huh. Can you make magic tools? Wee stopped and looked at Duanzai. She really wanted to repay Duanzai for saving her life, and she was the best magic tool maker in the elves. No. But we can find the dwarves. Duanzai immediately realized the inappropriateness of his words and hurriedly said, because I don't like to trouble people. It doesn't matter. You saved our lives, so we will make armor that satisfies you no matter what. Please believe me. Wee looked at Duanzai's eyes and said seriously. She could probably guess the boy's thoughts, but dwarves like to cut corners. What if he gets injured because of cutting corners in the battle? Looking at the elf's serious expression, Duanzai chose to believe her please. Duanzai said to the elf. The next day, Duanzai followed the two elves to the elf kingdom. How to say it? The elf kingdom is built on an extremely huge tree, and this tree can open a barrier to protect the elves. The tree is very large and gives him a majestic feeling. And the elves all live in tree houses, but why can a huge stone square be built on the tree? Welcome back, Miss Wee. A tall and handsome blonde elf said to Wee. Hello, Prince Nord. Wee said politely and responded with a lukewarm smile. Hello, Prince. At this time, Lee hurriedly said, looking a little nervous. Hello, Lee. The elf prince said politely. Duanzai silently looked at the relationship between the people present. This handsome elf may like Wee, but Wee doesn't like him, while the elf girl Lee likes the elf prince. Who are you? The elf prince looked at Duanzai and said. Jack. Hello. Duanzai said politely. After all, he had to stay here for a while, so he had to be polite. Hello, Mr. Jack. My name is Nord. I thought you were an elf, said the elf prince. Not an elf. It's a human. Duanzai looked at the elf prince and said, really, is there such a handsome elf? Mr. Jack has to abide by the rules of the elves when he comes to the elf kingdom, so don't make mistakes, otherwise Wee will be in trouble. The elf prince looked at Duanzai and said, he doesn't like aliens. Of course he doesn't like humans even more. However, in order to show his magnanimity, he still allowed Duanzai to enter the elf kingdom. The elves all looked very proud and looked at Duanzai with contempt from time to time. Of course, Duanzai would not suffer in vain. He would be happy if the elves lived in peace with him, but if that was the case, he would also make trouble. Since humans have come here, don't steal our things and sell them. A male elf looked at Duanzai and said, I forgive your pettiness. It's really surprising that elves have such a personality. Duanzai said casually. Sorry. His sister was sold to the Dark Empire by humans, so he is very hostile to humans. Please forgive him. Wee looked at Duanzai and said casually. Well, I'm very generous and not angry. Duanzai said casually. Wee was speechless. She saw Duanzai rolling up his sleeves and preparing to leave. Is this called not being angry? My home is this way. Wee took Duanzai to walk home quickly, and it was better to let Duanzai appear less in front of other elves these days. Wee's home is unexpectedly large and can accommodate 4 or 5 people. Duanzai was arranged to live in Wee's room because she had no time to rest, so Duanzai was allowed to live there. This elf named Wee is unexpectedly good. In the afternoon, Duanzai came out of the room and found Wee sleeping on the table with food next to her. Because he was a little hungry again, Duanzai took the food next to Wee and started eating. Maybe because of the slight sound, Wee woke up. Sorry, I ate your food because I was hungry. Duanzai stopped and looked at Wee and said. Wee yawned and smiled and said, it was prepared for you. Okay, I'm going to work. Chapter 67 Goblin. A creature with green skin, long nose, pointed ears and a small body was lying leisurely on the grass. His name was Bryn. He was once a human and now a goblin, which means he was reincarnated after death. Although he had seen many movies and TV shows about goblins in his previous life, and even read the book about goblins and female knights, he originally thought that goblins were very evil creatures, but after getting along with the goblin family, he found that goblins were actually quite good. Although they were a little stupid, they were very sincere to others. Brother, it's time to eat. A green goblin girl, who was probably only 3 years old, walked to Bryn with difficulty while holding an ugly big dog and said. The big dog looked at Bryn with drooping eyelids. It was often bullied by Bryn, so it didn't like Bryn very much. "Brother, it's time to eat," the goblin girl continued, thinking that her brother didn't hear it. "Bree, I heard it." Bryn stood up and yawned. Although his sister was ugly and cute, he still doted on her. "Brother Dabe is getting lazier now." Bree said what she thought. Dabe was the big dog in her arms. Bryn knew that it was not that Dabe was lazy, but that it was getting older and older, so even if it wanted to move, it had no energy. But Bryn didn't plan to tell his sister. "Dabe is a lazy dog after all. You have to be considerate of it." Bryn touched his sister's head and said, "Is that so? Did I disturb it?" Bree put Dabe on the ground and said, "I'm sorry. Dabe, have a good rest. I will save food for you." Bree was just a goblin who had just been born for half a year and was well protected by Bryn, so she was basically a kind little girl. At this time, Dabe felt helpless. It didn't want to blow the wind, but it couldn't talk, but it would take a long time to walk back by itself. Just when Dabe was helpless, Bryn picked up Dabe and said, "Dabe, have you gained weight? No need to walk." "No, why do you talk so badly?" Bryn held Dabe and chatted with his sister and then slowly walked towards his home. "Bryn, after you finish your meal, give these to the elves," said Bryn's father, looking at Bryn who was holding Dabe. Bryn looked at the magic ore and nodded. He knew that the elves allowed them to exist because they helped the elves collect magic ore. Bryn didn't like elves. Although they looked beautiful, they were not very kind. Generally, goblins who went to deliver magic ore would be bullied. Goblins were stupid and didn't necessarily know that the elves were bullying them. But Bryn knew it very well, but he chose to remain silent because once he started to ridicule the idiot elves, they would probably lose the protection of the elves. In this way, he would be the sinner of this tribe. "I'll go now," Bryn said, and then put Dabe down. Elves don't like to wait, so Bryn drove the beast cart towards the elf kingdom without eating. The goblin tribe was not far from the elf kingdom, so it took Bryn 3 hours to get there. But today he saw a black-haired elf, and he didn't pay much attention to it and said, "Master Elf, I've brought you some magic ore." Bryn got out of the car and started to move the magic ore. "Do you think elves are as handsome as me?" The black-haired boy turned around and said, slightly unhappy. He was Duan Xioi, but a few minutes ago, he had a quarrel with Lee. The girl was always sarcastic, so he couldn't help but make a sarcastic remark. Then the girl ran away with a sob, leaving him in a bad mood. "Sorry, are you from the east?" Bryn said, looking at the boy's slightly familiar face. "Isn't this guy too much like a Chinese?" "Aha, I'm from the east, and then I came to a remote place." Duan Xioi continued to ridicule the elves. "Is there also the Qin dynasty in the east of this world?" Bryn asked curiously. "Is there a great Qin empire in the east?" Bryn's words made Duan Xiao's eyes change instantly. "There is no great Qin empire in this world. Is this guy a time traveler?" Seeing Duan Xiao's changing eyes, Bryn secretly said that it was not good. "The king of heaven and the tiger of earth," Duan Xiao suddenly said. Bryn's eyes lit up, and he immediately said, "The pagoda suppresses the river monster. Traveler." The two people looked at each other and laughed in unison. "Ha ha ha. Are you a goblin? You look pretty ugly," Duan Xiao said happily. "You probably traveled through time and became a noble? Let me tell you that I was a super handsome guy in my previous life," Bryn said depressedly. "That's really sorry. I have always been like this. I came to this world by accident and am looking for a way home." Duan Xiao grinned and said proudly, "Wait a minute. You said you came to this world by accident? Does that mean you can go back?" Bryn couldn't help but said in surprise, but he had never thought about going back. Not only because he had no clue, but also because he had no nostalgia for the previous world, unlike this world, that made him feel very warm. Of course, this is a magical world. As long as you are strong enough, you should be able to go home, right? Duan Xiao tilted his head and said, "Then I wish you good luck." Bryn looked at Duan Xiao and said he would not leave this world. "Oh, the lowly human and the lowly goblin are unexpectedly harmonious together?" said a sarcastic voice. A beautiful blonde elf hugged her chest and sneered at Duan Xiao and goblin. Her good sister was made to cry by the hateful human in front of her, so she came to seek justice. Because she knew that the human boy in front of her could deal with a dragon, She also brought a lot of strong elves to stand up. Otherwise, she was afraid that Duanzai would do something strange to her when he was angry. After all, she was very beautiful. It is said that humans like the beauty of elves the most. So be careful. Who are you? Are you sick in the brain? Duanzai said bluntly. You. The beautiful blonde elf was angered by Duanzai's rude language. You know, how could such a beautiful elf have the heart to scold her? Hey, human, apologize quickly. A male elf interrupted. What do you mean? Do all elves stutter when they see a beautiful boy? Although I know you like me and want to attract my attention, isn't this too much? Duanzai said with a slight grin. This elf girl is very thin-skinned. Bryn on the side was a little surprised at the thick-skinnedness of his fellow countryman, but he was still very happy. The blonde elf blushed and began to explain. But Duanzai interrupted her as soon as she started to explain, which made the blonde elf very angry. Signed. A little excited. Chapter 68 Bryn. Okay. Stop arguing. Wee, who looked tired, said with a headache. She put down her work and hurried here after someone notified her. As soon as she arrived, she saw Duanzai constantly mocking their princess. Wee's domineering appearance made Duanzai stop speaking, and the blonde elf did not continue to speak. In the end, the blonde elf took the elves away angrily. I'm sorry that I've been busy with work and didn't expect them to hate humans so much. Wee said helplessly, because her invitation made the elves and Duanzai very unhappy. While Duanzai and Wee were talking, Bryn began to unload the magic ore. But soon the elves didn't want Bryn to move it, not because they felt Bryn was tired, but because they felt that the sweat on Bryn's body would make the quality of the magic ore worse. Although this is impossible, the elves still think so, as if they are the noblest creatures in the world. Of course, they do think they are the noblest creatures. Bryn has long been accustomed to the elves' farts, so he didn't feel anything. But Duanzai, who was standing aside, had a worse impression of the elves. Hi. Can I visit your home? Duanzai looked at Bryn and said he really didn't want to live in the elf kingdom anymore. Instead of making himself unhappy, he might as well go and chat with Bryn. Of course. You are very welcome. Bryn said with a smile. It should be a good experience for a fellow traverser to have a little chat. After getting the answer, Duanzai looked at Wee and said, I'll leave my armor magic tool to you. The only elf that Duanzai doesn't hate should be the beautiful elf in front of him. Don't worry. I will definitely create the most perfect armor magic tool. Wee said with a confident smile. If Duanzai leaves now, it can indeed ease the tension between him and the elves, but it's very sorry for him that I never hate other races, so please don't hate me. Wee continued. Duanzai was stunned and looked at Wee. Seeing this, Wee lowered her eyes. This time she should be hated. I don't hate you, and I like you quite a lot. We are friends. Duanzai said. Yeah. We are friends. Wee said with a smile. Bryn on the side rolled his eyes. How come this guy looks like the male protagonist in a light novel? After saying goodbye to Wee, Duanzai and Bryn went to the goblin tribe together. What is that? Duanzai said, looking at a big white bat with 3 heads. Or 3-headed bird. Bryn said after taking a quick look. Although the 3-headed bird looks ferocious, it is unexpectedly friendly and often goes to the goblin tribe to eat. It's really appropriate. Duanzai said. He thought this bat would have a very bad name. Suddenly a roar came, and Duanzai looked up and saw a pseudo-dragon. With a height of nearly 3 meters and a body of 7 meters long, it looks quite oppressive. Not good. Bryn said. The pseudo-dragon is very strong. He usually has to be fully prepared before he goes to attack the pseudo-dragon. But this pseudo-dragon may attack the village, so he has to find a way to deal with it. It's just a pseudo-dragon of the general level. Can't you beat it? Duanzai tilted his head and said. Nonsense. If I could beat it, I would have gone up and destroyed it long ago. Bryn couldn't help but said loudly, is this guy looking down on me? But I'm indeed very weak. This won't work. If I can't even beat it, then I can't protect my family. After all, this is not a society ruled by law. Duanzai reminded Bryn that in this world where strength is supreme, only power is the best guarantee. Bryn didn't say anything. Although he knew that this world is a world where strength is supreme, it is still safe under the protection of the elves. Wind track wind slash. The 7th level magic of the wind-based primary magic. The blue wind instantly formed a blade and cut towards the pseudo-dragon. The pseudo-dragon glared with its huge eyes and rushed towards Duanzai and Bryn. It really likes to eat goblins. Puff. The wind blade easily cut the pseudo-dragon into pieces and scarlet blood flew everywhere. The pseudo-dragon died without feeling any pain. Bryn was startled and said, "Are you strong?" "Strong? Not strong. When facing an emperor level creature, I dare not even move. That's why I need strong power," Duanzai said with a wry smile. "Emperor level creature?" Bryn was surprised. You know, the Elf King and the Elf Queen are both emperor level, so he knows the horror of the emperor. The previous world is still safe. Bryn couldn't help but say. His world didn't have extraordinary power before, so it was much better than here. Is it safe? The country is still facing the demon empire. Although it looks safe, if you take a wrong step, you may fall into the abyss. Duanzai said this, and then looked at Bryn. He felt that Bryn might come from a different world from him. Similarly, Bryn also guessed that Duanzai and he came from different worlds. Bryn thought about it and felt that he should become stronger, otherwise he would regret it for the rest of his life if something unexpected really happened. The two stopped in front of a village that didn't look big. "Brother, you're back. I left you some chicken legs." Bree jumped out from behind a big tree and said she had been waiting for her brother for a long time, but she didn't feel bored because there were always little ends to count. "I'm back." Bryn smiled and caught Bree. He liked this ugly and cute sister very much. At this time, Bree saw Duanzai and hurriedly shrank into Bryn's arms. Bree had never seen such a beautiful creature, although it looked very similar to them, but with slender legs and perfect face. It felt completely different. "Hello. My name in this world is Jack." Duanzai looked at Bree and said, although it looked ugly, it was also cute. "Is this the legendary ugly and cute?" "Hello. My name is Bree." Bree shrank in her brother's arms and looked at Duanzai. "Please take care of Bree for me. I'll go park the car." Bryn put Bree down and looked at Duanzai and said, "Yeah. Okay." Duanzai nodded and said. Bree kept looking at Duanzai and seemed to be unable to find what to say. "How old are you?" Duanzai asked. "Half a year old," Bree said with a stammer. "How old is your brother?" Duanzai continued. 3 years old, Bree said after thinking for a while. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Practice. The high-level magic of the fire system is called the Skyflame Funeral. It is a magic composed of 7 star maps, and a star map is composed of 7 star tracks, and a star track is composed of 7 stars. And after breaking through the high level, Duanzai's cultivation speed slowed down. After all, he has 9 systems. Although the water system, earth system, and plant system have been cultivated to the intermediate level, but the 5 systems of wind system, thunder system, shadow system, light system, and summoning system are still in the intermediate level, but they are about to break through. Duanzai looked at Bryn, who was running on the side. Goblin belongs to demons, so they should be divided according to the level of demons. Bryn told Duanzai that he was a goblin who had just broken through the war machine, but Bryn also told Duanzai that physical exercise can also increase magic power. So Duanzai was thinking about whether to exercise. Since becoming a magician, his body has become much stronger. With the body of a vampire, he may be the strongest among magicians. After thinking about it, Duanzai started running, but it was not just running, but practicing while running. Anyway, he had long been accustomed to this. Duanzai and Bryn were running together on the vast grassland. Although Bree wanted to run together, she couldn't keep up, so she sat with Dabe and watched Duanzai and Bryn running together. Duanzai was concentrating on meditation, so he didn't notice that he gradually left Bryn behind. A few hundred meters in front of Duanzai, a beautiful blonde elf girl showed a surprised look. She didn't expect to meet Duanzai here. She was the elf girl who stood up for Lee before, and she was also the princess of the elf kingdom. Hey, you. The elf girl watched Duanzai run past her. Is this guy rude? Doesn't he know that I'm saying hello to him? The elf princess thought depressedly. Looking at Duanzai's back, the elf princess became more and more angry, and finally stopped her pace, and turned to Duanzai, and rushed towards Duanzai. She could only ignore him, and she would not allow him, a foreigner, to ignore her. The elf princess bumped into Duanzai's back. Duanzai focused all his attention on meditation, and did not notice the behavior of the elf princess. Bang! Duanzai was knocked to the ground by the elf princess. The elf princess showed a smug expression. This time she suffered, right? Duanzai, whose practice was forcibly interrupted, became angry. Looking back, he saw a blonde elf. It must be this guy who knocked him down. The anger rose instantly. He already hated elves, but this elf girl was still bumping into him, and she didn't apologize at all and looked proud. Duanzai grabbed the elf girl's hair and said, "Are you sick?" Feeling the pain, the elf princess' eyes were instantly filled with tears. She didn't expect Duanzai to become so terrifying in an instant. She was scared. "Yes, I'm sorry," the elf princess said in a panic. She didn't want Duanzai to be angry. She just wanted him not to ignore her. Facing the furious Duanzai, the elf princess did not dare to resist. Duanzai's anger subsided a little when he saw the pitiful appearance of the elf girl. After releasing the hair of the elf girl, Duanzai looked at the bewildered elf girl in front of him and said, "Don't mess with me, otherwise, it won't be so easy next time." "Sorry," the elf princess said again. The elf princess returned to the elf kingdom in a daze. "What's wrong with Julie?" Lee said to her best friend. Her best friend became quiet after going out. Looking at Lee, the elf princess thought for a while and said, "Am I annoying?" Today, Duanzai did not hide his disgust for her at all, which hurt her. "How could it be? You are the cutest princess. Even Wee said you are beautiful." Lee looked at Julie and said, "Really? But I feel hated." Julie said a little aggrieved. If Duanzai was here, he would definitely complain about the elf princess. "Did you meet that human?" Lee guessed that the only person who hated elves here was probably that human. Although that human saved her, she still didn't like that human, because she thought humans were all lowly. "Well, he seems to hate me," Julie said a little aggrievedly. She went to Duanzai, because Duanzai bullied Lee, and she went to seek revenge. But this time, she took the initiative to knock Duanzai over. It was obviously her fault. So angry, I couldn't find an excuse to scold back after being scolded. And that human actually pulled her hair. Is he really a child? Julie thought about it and got up and said goodbye to Lee. After a while, she came to Wee-Wee's room. "Is there anything wrong, princess?" Wee-Wee said while drinking juice. She just returned home to rest. Wee-Wee then handed the princess a glass of fruit juice. "Sister Wee-Wee, do you hate humans?" Julie looked at Wee-Wee and said. Wee-Wee was an elf with a high status among the elves, and was also the object of her worship. There are good people and bad people among humans. I hate bad people, but not good people. Wee-Wee looked at Julie and said, "Sister Wee-Wee should not hate Jack." Julie continued, "No, because he saved me, but he hates elves. Even I can feel it. He didn't hate elves when he came, but the elves kept provoking him, so it's normal for him to hate elves." Wee-Wee looked at Julie and said, "I've decided." Julie looked at Wee-Wee and said. Julie's expression looked very serious. Wee-Wee was stunned for a moment and said, "What have you decided?" "I've decided. I want to be friends with Jack," Julie said with her hands on her hips. Wee-Wee frowned and said, "Your identity is very sensitive. If you make friends with him, it is likely to cause trouble for him. I will settle his troubles, so you must be friends with him," Julie continued to say seriously. Looking at Julie's serious expression, Wee-Wee continued, "Maybe he doesn't want to be friends with you." "Huh. Sister Wee-Wee, I will make him accept me," Julie said with a confident expression. Wee-Wee silently put down the cup with an indescribable feeling. "Julie, you know that Lee should hate him very much. Are you ready to face the doubts of your friends?" Wee-Wee planned to use this to make Julie retreat. "Don't worry. I will let Lee accept Jack, and then everyone in the elf kingdom will accept him." Julie said. Why do you want to do this suddenly? We said dryly. Because I think it's better to be friends than to be people who hate each other, so I want to be friends with humans. Julie said with a smile. Chapter 70 entitled. As always, Bree watched the little ants on the ground carrying the dead grass and other small insects. All the living things along the way would be bitten to death by them and then brought back to the nest. The powerful momentum once made Bree feel that she would be eaten by the ants without hesitation. So Bree usually piled up small stones to count the ants and then watched the ants from the side. She thought the ants were very powerful. They were so small but could help, but her brother didn't let her go to work to help when she was half a year old. Obviously, other goblins had already started to help. Bree remembered that there was a goblin who helped his family arrogantly before, and she was very envious. Hey, what are you doing here, little Bree? Duanzai said at this time. He just came back from running and saw Bree's sister Bree squatting on the small stones, probably counting ants. Brother Jack, I'm counting ants, Bree said happily. She liked the big brother in front of her. He felt very kind and treated her well. Duanzai showed a thoughtful expression. He had counted ants before. Bree, let's go eat together. Your brother is probably going to call you home for dinner, Duanzai said to the goblin girl in front of him. He has been here for 3 days and will eat at Bree's house tomorrow. So he and Bree have become more familiar with each other. Yeah. Bree nodded and bent her legs slightly. Bree's small body flew over the ants. But Bree didn't step firmly and stumbled to the ground. Duanzai saw this and instantly appeared in front of Bree and caught her. Be careful. Duanzai helped Bree steady and said. Although the little thing in front of him was not his real sister, he still felt that Bree's character was countless times better than Duanzai. Bree, do you think your brother is a human? Duanzai looked at Bree and said. Bree was certainly not a human just now. He is a goblin. Bree said honestly. Ha ha ha. Your brother is indeed not a human. Duanzai grinned and said. This sentence used to be a curse, but he didn't expect that it could be used on Bree here openly. I heard it. At this time, Bree said with a dark face. Of course he knew what Duanzai meant, but he couldn't refute it. Duanzai smiled awkwardly when he heard what Bryn said. Let's go eat. Everything was silent in the dim world, as if there were no living things. Is this what you look like? A hoarse voice said. This voice contained surprise and jealousy. You destroyed this world. The hoarse voice said angrily. Is a world without any living things still a real world? A cold voice said. A woman in a black dress sat on her skull throne and looked at the girl in front of her. The girl had long ice blue hair, ice blue pupils, and an ice blue robe, as if everything about the girl was ice blue. This girl had a crazy face. The woman sitting on the throne felt that, as long as the girl in front of her smiled slightly, all the creatures in this world would be captured by her heart. But such a girl was frozen by a plane. Although this plane is not very big, it is still a plane. The girl in front of her is like a queen in ice and snow. He's not dead. The woman in the black dress said as she looked at the ice blue girl in front of her. I know. The girl with ice blue hair said softly. I hate you. The woman in the black dress said, and the ice blue ice covered the woman little by little until she was completely covered. In front of the frozen woman was an ice sculpture of a fallen angel and an ice sculpture of a ghost demon. They were all frozen by the girl, and their souls had turned into spirits and were collected by the girl. The girl waved her hand slightly. A huge space crack opened. Roar. An extremely huge ice wolf came out, followed by a white giant wolf with wings. Although the white giant wolf was not as big as the first wolf, it was not much different. Then a large number of wolves rushed in. Eat everything you can eat. This world is ours. The ice blue girl looked at the giant wolves and said softly. The ice giant wolf walked in front of the girl and slowly lay down. The girl walked up gracefully. Now she is going to find someone. Bo City at this time. Mo-fan held Li Xingxia in his arms and shuffled among the demons. Although the demons were all looking at Mo-fan, they did not dare to attack him because they could all feel the strong aura released by Mo-fan. That was not something that these servant level demons could handle. Mo-fan was a little panicked now. He didn't know how many people would die in this sudden disaster. Just like when he suddenly heard that Duanzai was missing before, it came suddenly and inexplicably. He remembered Duan Xiaoyu saying that Duan Xiaoyu had fallen into the dark plane. Although he didn't know where the dark plane was, he understood what Duan Xiaoyu meant, that Duan Xiaoyu would never appear in this world in his lifetime. How could such a big person just disappear like this? Suddenly, there was a magical fluctuation. Mo Fan looked up and saw the terrifying battle between Zhen Kang and the commander-level demon wolf. Was it this guy who launched the attack on Bo City? Mo Fan looked at the giant wolf fiercely. He had the power to kill this guy. Mo Fan continued to run forward with Yi Xingxia. There was a military magician safe zone ahead. As long as they went there, they would be safe. Yi Xingxia bit her lips tightly. Bo City carries many of her memories. The memory place of her, Duan Xiaoyu, Mo Fan and some others was destroyed. The attack of the demons made her understand that only a strong force can protect everything around her, whether it is people or things. She still believes that Duan Xiaoyu will come to Bo City and gently pushes her wheelchair and says mischievously, "The dark plane is very good. But this important place in Bo City was destroyed by these damn demons." Britain. What are you looking at, Lilith? A blonde vampire said to her princess. Power. I need power. Lilith said in a vague voice. Since she heard that Duan Xiaoyu fell into the dark plane, she followed her parents to Britain and shut herself up for a long time. Now she needs power and goes to the dark plane to find Duan Xiaoyu. She will not give up until she sees Duan Xiaoyu's body. You know, vampires are very difficult to die. Princess, I will prepare dragon blood for you. The blonde vampire said excitedly immediately. Her princess finally realized the importance of power. Chapter 71 Julie. Julie is an elf who can do what she says, so the next day she headed towards the goblin tribe alone. She did not bring other elves, because that would increase the difficulty. She planned to build a good relationship with Duan Xiaoyu, and then slowly introduce him to her friends, so that the conflict should be resolved. This princess is so beautiful that she should be able to make that human be friends with her, Julie thought a little narcissistically. Julie hadn't walked for long when she saw a black-haired boy slashing with a wooden sword. It can be seen that the black-haired boy has no swordsmanship at all, just like a person who is playing around with a wooden sword. Julie felt that her swordsmanship was countless times stronger than that of this human boy. Yo. What a coincidence. Julie walked forward and said, "The perfect smile of a beautiful girl makes anyone feel good. Want to fight?" Duan Xiaoyu said to the elf girl with a playful face in front of him. He felt that the girl was unhappy because of what happened yesterday, so was she here to take revenge today? Julie was stunned for a moment. She was surprised at Duan Xiaoyu's brain circuit. How could she come to fight when she was smiling so perfectly? However, she also felt the deep disgust of the boy in front of her for the elves. "I'm not here to fight." Julie put away her smile and looked at Duan Xiaoyu. "Oh, are you here for a group fight?" Duan Xiaoyu tilted his head and said, meaning that this girl didn't want to fight and let other elves come. "Just let the elves see their strength. I'm here to be friends with you," Julie said a little dryly. She didn't know if there was something wrong with her expression. Why did the boy in front of her always feel like fighting? "Noble elves want to be friends with me?" Duan Xiaoyu said sarcastically. "I'm serious," Julie continued. She knew that Duan Xiaoyu was just venting his dissatisfaction with the elves, but if he expressed his determination well, he should not refuse to be friends with her. After all, he was friends with Sister Wui. Duan Xiaoyu didn't say anything. If the girl in front of him really wanted to be friends with him, he wouldn't refuse. But what if this guy was lying to him? What if this guy was playing tricks on him? Duan Xiaoyu was not sure what the elf girl was thinking, so he didn't say anything. "Then as a friend, I'll teach you swordsmanship," Julie said with a smile. "Swordsmanship?" Duan Xiaoyu tilted his head and said, "Is her swordsmanship good?" Julie began to perform swordsmanship. Julie's swordsmanship is gorgeous, elegant and very practical. Although Duan Xiaoyu is not sure whether the elf girl is playing tricks on him, he thinks that learning swordsmanship is worth it, even if he has played tricks on him. Julie began to guide Duan Xiaoyu to practice swordsmanship. Of course, the process is not boring, but very interesting, because Duan Xiaoyu's swordsmanship is always interesting. Noon. "Brother Jack, I'm here to bring you food." A goblin girl came over with a big dog and said, Because the goblin girl was too small, the basket with food was hung on the big dog. Little Bree, I'll go back and eat. No need to send it here. Duanzai walked to the goblin girl and touched her head and said, because brother Jack has helped us a lot, I want to do something for him. Bree looked at Duanzai with big eyes and said, last night, Duanzai solved the cave spiders that had been bothering the goblins, so Bree also felt that she should do something for him. After thinking about it, she could only do something smaller, sending food. Your brother and I are friends, so it's normal to help friends. If the purpose of helping friends is to repay, then it's meaningless. Duanzai looked at Bree and said, although it was much safer around here, there were still some strange creatures. If Bree was attacked, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. I'm sorry. Bree still didn't understand Duanzai's meaning a little bit, so she said hurriedly, I don't blame you. On the contrary, I'm very happy. But you should know that there will be creatures like wolves here. What if you are attacked? I will feel guilty. Duanzai continued. Bree felt very warm and smiled sweetly, saying, then let's go home together tonight. I'll count ants and wait for brother Jack. Then I'll leave first. Julie was very tactful and prepared to leave. Although she was looking forward to the boy asking her to have dinner together, it should be impossible. If you don't mind, let's have dinner together. Of course, you can go home if you have something urgent. Duanzai looked at Julie and said, he felt that this elf girl didn't seem to be annoying. I'm not in a hurry at all. Julie looked back at Duanzai and said happily, she didn't expect that she was invited to dinner by him. This time they should be friends. Hello. My name is Julie. What's your name? Julie walked up to Bree and said gently. Looking at Julie's gentle expression, Bree almost thought she saw the sun. But this big sister is so beautiful. But brother Jack is still more handsome. Hello. My name is Bree. Bree said a little nervously, because she knew that elves are respected by them. Not long ago, it seemed that a goblin was beaten for looking at an elf for a little longer. Such a gentle big sister shouldn't beat herself, right? But I looked at her several times. If she was beaten, she would be beaten to death, right? Bree began to feel uneasy. Can we be friends? Julie looked at Bree and said, friends? Sure. But please don't beat me. Bree said, why should I beat you? I'm not crazy. Julie was stunned for a moment and said, I thought I would be beaten once I looked at my big sister. Bree said with a sigh of relief, you elves are really arrogant. Duanzai couldn't help but said, but added, I'm not talking about you. Julie was a little depressed when she heard Duanzai's first sentence, but Duanzai's second sentence made her happy. Is he considering her feelings? I will let the elves live in peace with others as do. Julie looked up at Duanzai and said, although your idea is good, you still have to be prepared. After all, not all humans are good. Duanzai reminded Julie he didn't want Julie to be deceived by humans. I know. Every year, dozens of elves are trafficked by humans. Julie said with a sad expression, why must the elves be trafficked? Duanzai was stunned for a moment. He had never seen this scene before, but this might be the main reason for the elves' prejudice against humans. Chapter 72 Talent. Bryn looked at the slave-level grey wolf in front of him, and quickly drew out his sword, and rushed towards the grey wolf. The grey wolf had no time to dodge, and was beheaded by Bryn with a sword. In fact, he was very skilled in killing grey wolves. After all, nearly half of his opponents were grey wolves. Looking at the body of the grey wolf, Bryn hesitated. He actually had a talent called devouring. He could devour other creatures to obtain 1/3 of the creature's magic power to strengthen himself. But even Bryn found it a little difficult to accept devouring the grey wolf like this. So he was very hesitant now, because he had basically never used this talent. However, Bryn still bent down and began to bite the body of the grey wolf. He felt that what Duanzai said was right. This world is a world where strength is supreme. If you want to protect your family, you have to become stronger. After Bryn finished eating the body of the grey wolf, he started. His stomach did not swell up. The powerful devouring talent directly digested the body of the grey wolf completely. Bryn also felt that his power became stronger. At the same time, in the domain of dark creatures, it appears, the king who can bring despair to the world appears. A beautiful witch in a black robe said tremblingly, I have been waiting for hundreds of years. Is that person finally coming? Ha 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 ha. The beautiful witch laughed heartily. She can finally drag this world into the abyss of despair. The beautiful witch looked at the result of the divination. Elf kingdom, goblin, human, kill. The witch explained the result of the divination, but it always felt different. But she knew that the king was in the territory of the elf kingdom. The beautiful witch walked out of her dark palace. Where are you going, Lord Christina? A dark knight looked at the witch who had just walked out and said respectfully. Secret, the witch said with a faint smile. After the witch finished speaking, she strode forward. Goblin tribe 1 month later. How is it? Wee, with dark circles under her eyes, said to Duanzai in front of her. Very good. Duanzai said happily. Now he is wearing a set of dragon armor with black and purple patterns. It looks mysterious and beautiful, with a pair of huge dragon wings flapping gently from behind Duanzai. It has 99% magic resistance, which means that the power of magic will only cause 0.5% damage to the armor. It is my most satisfying work now. Wee said with a smile. Not everyone can use dragons as materials. It also has the ability to restore magic energy. After your magic energy is consumed, it will automatically replenish your magic energy. Wee continued. Thank you. But do you really not need a reward? Duanzai looked at Wee in front of him again and said. If you feel that you need to compensate me, take me to fly in the sky. I haven't flown in the sky yet. Wee looked at Duanzai and said she really wanted to fly at high speed in the sky. Okay then. Duanzai walked in front of Wee and hugged her gently. The dragon wings behind him flapped gently and Duanzai instantly shot into the sky. Duanzai was stunned for a moment and said, why do I feel that the speed now is faster than the speed of the dragon before? Because every scale of this armor has the inscription of the elves, so of course it is fast. Not only that, even an ordinary person wearing the armor will instantly turn into a humanoid tyrannosaurus. Wee said, looking at the scenery on the ground. In this way, Duanzai took Wee to fly around, and Wee let Duanzai land, after she was satisfied. Catcher. Suddenly a strange sound came. Yo. Long time no see. A slightly familiar girl said, and she spoke in Chinese. A girl with red eyes and black hair looked at Duanzai, with a huge sword in front of the girl. How did you get here? Duanzai said in surprise. If the girl can come here, then can he go back? I'm here to kill you. Hu Taomeng grinned at Duanzai, and drew out the huge sword, and rushed towards him. Wee drew out her sword, and attacked Hu Taomeng. A crisp sound rang out. Wee's rapier was chopped off by Hu Taomeng. Hey. Hu Taomeng chuckled, and hit Wee's abdomen with her knee. Wee flew backwards instantly. Duanzai quickly hugged Wee. He was very surprised, because Wee was a strong person equivalent to a superclass mage. But such a strong person was defeated by Hu Taomeng in an instant. This girl has become very strong now. Are you okay? Duanzai said worriedly. It's okay. But she is very strong. Be careful. Wee said, while covering her abdomen. You are very leisurely. Hu Taomeng appeared beside Duanzai in an instant, and slashed at Duanzai with the giant sword in her hand. Duanzai raised his arm. The dragon scale armor on his arm came into contact with the giant sword. In an instant, he felt the huge power of Hu Taomeng, but at the same time, Hu Taomeng also felt the powerful power of Duanzai. Is this guy still a mage? Hu Taomeng couldn't help thinking. Hu Taomeng instantly pulled away and looked at Duanzai. Duanzai also looked at Wei and said, you move away. Wei nodded and left quickly. Sky Flame Funeral. Duanzai released a high-level fire magic. Flame petals fell from the sky, and a flying bird came into contact with a petal before it could escape, and the bird turned into ashes in an instant. Very good. You are still a mage. The power of darkness gathered on Hu Taomeng's body to protect her, but because Duanzai's Sky Flame Funeral was too strong, the dark power on her body was consumed very quickly. But there was an evil god behind her, so she was not afraid of consumption at all. Hu Taomeng rushed out, and the ground under her feet shattered instantly. A gorgeous sword appeared in Duanzai's hand. This was the angel sword, the gift from the angel before. Duanzai, holding the sword, also rushed out instantly. Duanzai's swordsmanship is also very strong now, but Hu Taomeng's swordsmanship and reaction ability are extremely strong, so the two hurt each other in the instant attack. Dark Ethnic Sanction. Dark Ethnic Sanction is the magic power of the power shadow system in exchange for an attack from a dark creature. It's an equal trade. A black shadow jumped out from Hu Taomeng's shadow. It was a shadow knight. The shadow knight held a long sword and stabbed Hu Taomeng's heart. Hu Taomeng realized that something was wrong and quickly distanced herself, and then the shadow knight's attack missed. Then the shadow magic energy in Duanzai's body was consumed a little, and the shadow knight went back with the reward. Although the shadow knight's attack missed, the angel sword in Duanzai's hand pierced Hu Taomeng's shoulder. Chapter 73 Walnut Dream. Hu Taomeng saw Duanzai being taken into the dark plane before, and then she asked the evil gods to help her find Duanzai's traces. It was not until a few days ago that the evil gods found Duanzai's traces. Then Hu Taomeng couldn't wait to use the power of the evil gods to come to this world and find Duanzai. She originally thought that she could defeat this boy, but now it seems wrong. This boy's fighting power is even higher than hers, but this is not bad. As long as the boy kills herself, he will never be able to get rid of herself. So she even looks forward to being killed by Duanzai. Wei, who was watching the battle, breathed a sigh of relief. She saw Duanzai stab the sword into the shoulder of the black-haired girl. In this way, he would be much easier in the next battle, right? And Wei also understood that Duanzai was not from this world. She knew that all the languages in this world did not have a language like the black-haired girl said, and Duanzai also answered her in the same language. The result was already obvious. Duanzai is from another world. Hey, join us, Hu Taomeng said, holding Duanzai's blade. She believed that humans were not worth protecting. Are you crazy? Duanzai said, holding the sword hard. With the power of the magic dragon armor, the sword entered Hu Taomeng's body little by little, and then pierced her shoulder. The angel's purification power continued to wear away Hu Taomeng's dark power. Are you crazy? You are, right? In this world, as long as you can be fine, why do you have to protect others? Hu Taomeng looked at Duanzai and said, bleeding on her white and tender palms. She just wanted to live a good life. Duanzai didn't say anything. He didn't think he was a very good person, but he still had the most conscience. Well, forget it. Hu Taomeng showed a moment of loneliness. Hu Taomeng chuckled and looked at Duanzai and said, you will never get rid of me in your life. Hu Taomeng's eyes were shining when she said this, as if she liked her own decision. I don't want it. Duanzai waved the sword in his hand vigorously. Duanzai knew that the gap between his power and Hu Taomeng was not big, so he had to find a way to defeat her. But Hu Taomeng showed a faint smile and then opened her mouth to say something. Because Hu Taomeng didn't make a sound, Duanzai could only judge by the shape of her mouth. Please give me more advice for the rest of my life. Duanzai said according to the shape of Hu Taomeng's mouth. Suddenly, Hu Taomeng's resistance disappeared instantly. Duanzai's sword easily cut off Hu Taomeng's shoulders and head. Duanzai was stunned for a moment. Are you kidding? Why didn't you resist suddenly? Or did you suddenly feel like being a good person? Why didn't you resist? Duanzai imagined the story between himself and Hu Taomeng. Either he killed her or she killed him. But that must be the result left after both sides fought with all their strength. But what is this result now? Duanzai didn't think it should be like this. Hey, you must not be dead, right? The saint of the evil god cult should have the ability to come back to life, right? Duanzai said with a teasing meaning. There was no response for a long time. Are you really dead? Duanzai squatted in front of Hu Taomeng's still warm body and said easily. Duanzai only now truly realized that Hu Taomeng was dead. She and he were from the same world. If he left her here, she would definitely be lonely, right? After all, they couldn't even speak the same language. After thinking about it, Duanzai used the earth system to make a small box and then cremated Hu Taomeng's body and put it in the small box. Are you okay? Wei walked to Duanzai and said, I'm fine. Duanzai didn't look at Wei but looked at the small box and said that he was still not sure if Hu Taomeng was dead. Wee Wee looked at Duan Zioi, who was not in a good mood, and wanted to comfort him, but she couldn't find a place to comfort him. Suddenly she realized that she had never understood Duan Zioi. It turned out that the black-haired boy in front of her was so unfamiliar to her. But why did she think he was a very gentle and kind person? Because he was good looking? In fact, it was possible that he was a bad guy, and the girl just now was a good person, right? Wee Wee felt that she needed to calm down. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Wee Wee left quickly, and her steps became faster and faster. Duan Zioi said softly, "Goodbye, Elf Kingdom." Wee Wee was sitting in a juice shop in a daze. She felt that she liked Duan Zioi, but the strange feeling she felt at that moment made her feel fear and uneasiness. The uneasiness and fear made her think that maybe she just wanted to repay a favor, and that kind of emotion was not pure. She needed to love Duan Zioi without other impure emotions. She just wanted to like him simply, not because of something impure like repaying a favor. "Sister Wee Wee, what's wrong with you?" Lee saw Wee Wee in a daze, and walked in and said, in her impression, Wee Wee should be a very pure person who likes to make magic tools. Every time she saw her like that, Lee felt that Wee Wee was radiating light, very charming and dazzling. "Nothing," Wee Wee said with a weird expression. She was not very good at hiding her true thoughts. Lee felt that Wee Wee must have encountered emotional problems. After a little thought, she understood that Sister Wee Wee was like this because of that human. So this is also an opportunity. "Night. Are you okay?" Bryn said to the boy standing in front of the window. "Is it okay for this guy to lie down and look out the window after sleeping for an hour?" "I'm fine." The black-haired boy looked back at Bryn and said, because the moonlight was blocked, the expression on the boy's face could not be seen clearly. "Go to bed early." Bryn continued after he finished speaking. He was working hard to become stronger today, so he was still very tired. The black-haired boy walked out of the room, and the corners of his mouth gradually rose as he looked at the bright moon. It can be seen that the boy is very happy now. But it seems that he is not happy today. Although he was very happy to get the magic dragon armor, the death of Walnut Dream made him depressed. The boy began to hum a strange song. "Mom ate dad. Brother killed brother. Sister bought poison. What should we do with a little walnut? Hehe. Of course, kill them all. La 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 la." A strange and absurd ballad came out of the boy's mouth. The wind around him gradually blew up, as if dubbing this absurd ballad. Little Walnut. Very happy. The strange ballad continued to float in the night. Chapter 74 Farewell. Duan Zioi's original goal was to make a set of magic tools of his own, and now that this goal has been achieved, there is no need to stay here. So Duan Zioi said goodbye to Bryn and some other goblins. Bryn was a little reluctant. After all, Duan Zioi and he could chat a lot in some places. If Duan Zioi left, he would have one less person to chat with. After Duan Zioi spent some time saying goodbye, he headed towards the Holy Church Academy. About half a day later, Duan Zioi arrived at a small town. To recruit a magician, just come and apply. Duan Zioi saw such a strange recruitment on the bulletin board of the town. Generally speaking, recruitment will clearly state what kind of person is needed, but this recruitment seems very strange. Just say that a magician is needed. A strong one. Or is it a weak one? Or is it just a child's prank? Basically no one will go to such a recruitment. Wow. It's actually a recruitment. I want it so much. A girl with glasses and pink hair said with joy, as if she was saying that this was a very important recruitment. "Big brother, do you need it? If not, just give it to me." The pink-haired girl with glasses looked at Duan Zioi and said in a coquettish tone, "Oh, then you come." Duan Zioi would not accept such a recruitment, so he stepped aside and said, "It can be seen that this girl likes this recruitment very much. So straightforward to give it to me?" the pink-haired girl said in surprise. Generally speaking, wandering magicians are very poor, and they usually won't let the recruitment go. "I don't need it." Duan Zioi looked at the girl and said, and then prepared to leave. "Big brother, can you help me pull it off? I sprained my foot." The pink-haired girl suddenly squatted on the ground holding her foot and said, as if she was in pain, "Oh." Duan Zioi pulled off the recruitment without thinking much. The pink-haired girl immediately stood up and said happily, "Congratulations on becoming the partner of Meili Meng Meng." Was this girl pretending just now? My name is Zyashu. You are our magician, right? Suddenly a little girl with blue hair jumped out and looked at Duanzai nervously and said, "Hello. My name is Zyanalu. Please teach me a lot." A little girl with grey hair said nervously, because they are now starting to defraud. It's a crime. How is it? Are you happy to be the partner of 3 beautiful girls? The pink-haired girl said happily with her hands on her waist. Not happy at all. I don't have time to play pranks with you. Duanzai handed the recruitment to the pink-haired girl, but the girl had no intention of taking it, and her excited expression just now turned into a lost expression. Then we can give you our savings, so become our magician? The blue-haired girl named Zyashu looked at Duanzai and said, and it can be seen that this girl attaches great importance to this recruitment. Duanzai was a little shaken by the cuteness of the little girl. Please become our magician. The grey-haired girl pulled Duanzai's clothes and said, her big eyes and cute appearance made Duanzai feel troubled. Brother, if you don't become our magician, then we can't form an adventurer team. So please become our magician. The pink-haired girl said with a crying voice, and tears accumulated in her eyes. Big brother? Big brother? Big brother? The continuous output of the 3 little girls made Duanzai admit defeat. Okay, I can be your magician, so please tell me why you want to be adventurers? Duanzai thought about it and said, these 3 girls are so cute. Because we want to become stronger. That way we can protect others. The pink-haired girl wiped her tears and said that the Adventurers Guild didn't want them because they were too young, but they made a request that they could become adventurers as long as there was a powerful magician. But the 3 of them were so excited that they forgot the requirement of being strong. After that, the 3 little girls brought Duanzai to the Adventurers Guild. But the big sister of the guild refused to let them become adventurers the moment she saw Duanzai, because a slightly older child would take 3 little brats to fight. Duanzai explained that he was very strong, but no one believed it. Then I will let you become adventurers, if you can beat him. The big sister of the guild pointed to a tall man and said, the man was the strongest person in the town, a high-level swordsman. In this world, people have many professions, unlike Duanzai's world, where there are only magicians. Hehe. The man smiled provocatively when he heard the conversation. He often educates young boys like Duanzai. After all, if these guys are not taught a lesson, they will rush towards the powerful demons without respect, and then people will die. Therefore, the man often beats some young people to let them know that the world is cruel. Duanzai tilted his head and said, is it enough to beat him? Hey, is it another young man who doesn't know the height of the world? It's a pity that such a pretty face will be beaten crooked, but it's better than dying carelessly on the battlefield. The big sister of the guild smiled and said, that's right. I know. Please arrange it. I will fight him. Duanzai tilted his head and said, he knew that these people didn't want these 3 little girls to fight, but it might not be the best way to stop them all the time. So let them experience the real fear and let them understand the cruelty of this world. Are you sure? The big sister of the guild said in surprise, that's a high-level swordsman. Not just a cat or a dog. Yeah, I'm sure. Duanzai nodded and said, it's someone who needs to be fixed. The big sister of the guild thought Duanzai was a very arrogant person. Let me tell you something. He is a high-level swordsman. Are you sure you want to fight him? The big sister of the guild continued. If Duanzai still insisted, she would have nothing to say. Yes, I want to fight him. Duanzai nodded and said. The big sister of the guild said that she knew, and then went to find the man. His name is Jace. He is very scary, so even if we can't become adventurers, we are already very happy. The blue-haired Zyashu said, pulling the corner of Duanzai's clothes. She didn't want this big brother to get hurt. Yeah. The grey-haired girl Zyashu also nodded and said, don't go. The pink-haired girl also said, I'm very strong. Duanzai strode towards the man after saying that. Can I throw any extra monthly tickets in my face? Chapter 75. One-shot kill and goblin injury. Boy, are you sure you want to challenge me? The tall man looked at Duanzai with a bloodthirsty look. This was honed from fighting. The servant-level demons would instantly run away with their tails between their legs when they saw such a look. The man thought that this would scare the boy in front of him, but unexpectedly, the boy had no extra expression at all, as if he was used to it. Come on. Duanzai waved at the man and said, a high-level swordsman of the same level as him. Oh. So arrogant. The man turned his head and showed his big teeth. Everything depends on strength. Duanzai looked at the man and said calmly. He also wanted to see how much stronger he was now than people of the same level. I like this sentence, but it seems that you are not ordinary. The man walked to the square and said. The people around him consciously made way. Kill him. Suddenly a woman said to the man. There is very little entertainment in this world, so both men and women will like such exciting competitions. If it is really exciting, this woman doesn't mind having a special relationship with the winner. Of course. The man drew his sword and said without looking back. Is he okay? Xiaoshu, the blue-haired girl, said nervously. She was worried that Duanzai would be killed by Jace's sword and she would feel guilty for the rest of her life. Don't worry. Jace knows the limits. The pink-haired girl said calmly. Is it really okay? Xiaolu said nervously. She was worried about Duanzai. Don't worry. Jace knows what to do. The guild elder sister said gently. Her words calmed the three little girls down like a reassurance pill. Are you ready? The man looked at Duanzai and said. He was very serious about the battle. This was engraved in his bones. Well, it's okay. Duanzai nodded and said. The man held the sword and rushed towards Duanzai quickly. Duanzai gently turned his body to avoid the man's sword and then punched the man in the chest. In an instant, the man felt like he was hit by a giant demon. The man flew backwards and crashed into a restaurant. The thick wall was also smashed by the man to make a big hole. All of a sudden, everyone was surprised. They all thought it was a quick fight, but it was too quick, wasn't it? Just like a couple, the man just took off his pants and shuddered and said it was over, and the woman was confused. Jace, you let it go, didn't you? A young man couldn't help but say, Jace is the strongest in the town. But what is it now? Was he knocked away by a punch? Or was he knocked away by a mage? Can you be a little more exaggerated? Let it go. Jace staggered and covered his chest and said, just now he thought the boy held back, otherwise his chest might be pierced. Is this guy a humanoid demon? Jace looked at Duanzai with a complicated expression and said, you win. Oh. At this time, the pink-haired girl jumped on Duanzai's back and said happily, you win. Hehe. So powerful. Exclamation mark. Can you make me stronger? The grey-haired girl Xiaolu looked at Duanzai and said, I want to become stronger too. Xiaoshu said, pulling the corner of Duanzai's clothes, and Duanzai's strength surprised her. To become stronger, you need talent. Duanzai said. After defeating the man, Duanzai successfully became an adventurer. Of course, the three little girls who were traveling with him also became adventurers. At the same time, Goblin Tribe. A very beautiful woman walked to the Goblin Tribe belonging to the Elf Kingdom. Looking at the extremely backward tribe and the ugly goblins, the very beautiful woman frowned. Excuse me, what can I do for you? Bryn said in front of the very beautiful woman. This woman gave him a very uncomfortable feeling, so he was very cautious in dealing with this woman. The very beautiful woman frowned and said to Bryn, kill the other disgusting goblins. Bryn was stunned for a moment. Is this guy here to make fun of you? But soon Bryn felt that he could not control his body. Bryn knew clearly what he was doing, but could not control his behavior. Hey, what's wrong with you, Bryn? At this time, a slightly fat goblin looked at Bryn and said, his name is Bushi, and he is a very honest goblin. Go, go, go. Bryn was shouting wildly, but his voice could not be heard. Bryn drew his sword and walked towards Bushi step by step. Bryn, do you need me to sharpen your sword? Bushi said happily. He often sharpened Bushi's sword. Bryn swung his sword fiercely. Crack. Bushi's head was easily chopped off. No, no. Bryn shouted in horror. He couldn't understand why this woman controlled him to kill Bushi. Anger swept through Bryn's heart. Hey, you actually shouted. It's a bit unexpected, the woman said in surprise. You know, even dragons may not be able to make other sounds under her control. This goblin seems to be unusual. Then kill all the goblins here, the woman said with a chuckle. Bryn held the sword and walked forward little by little. Bryn, what did you do? At this time, an old goblin looked at Bryn and said tremblingly. Bryn couldn't speak, but tears couldn't stop flowing from his eyes. Puff. The sharp sword easily pierced the chest of the old goblin. The old goblin felt the tears on Bryn's face and understood. Bryn, please don't blame yourself. This is not what you want to do. If you can live, live well. The old goblin closed his eyes after saying this. He knew that Bryn was controlled now. Controlled by a demon. Bryn killed one goblin after another like a cold machine. All his neighbors and friends were killed by him one by one. Goblin, please live well. Bryn's mother said to Bryn gently. She could feel the changes and helplessness in her child's heart. Bryn screamed wildly in his heart, but it was still useless. Bryn brother, are you in pain? At this time, Bree spoke. She saw that her brother was crying all the time. He must be very sad. Crack. The sharp sword pierced Bree's chest, then cut off the bones, and drilled out from the back. Ah. Bryn hugged Bree, and howled like crazy. Ah. I'm so annoyed. You should die too. The woman frowned and said. Suddenly a golden light burst out. The light was aimed at the woman. Ah. The elf king? The woman flew into the sky in an instant. A huge pit appeared on the ground where the light hit. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.